This webinar today is one actually pretty excited about, and it's going to teach you not just how to find a job, which I will talk about, but why no one should ever really worry about finding a position. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but I'm going to talk to you about the habits of people that literally almost never need to look for a job, because there are people out there where jobs come to them and where they're able to do very well practicing law and get clients to come to them and work to come to them. And there's certain habits and things that you can follow in your career and things that you can do that will basically make you always employable and have actually jobs come to you. So today's webinar is not just about searching for a job. It's about how to be an attorney that work comes to you and how to develop the habits and the doing certain things in your career that are going to make that happen to you. I've been working with attorneys for over 25 years that have been looking for jobs. I speak to at least 5 or 6 attorneys looking for jobs every single day, and I have for 25 years. And because of that, I know what makes people succeed in this profession and what doesn't. And I'm going to teach you about that today. There are things that I'm going to teach you that you have never heard, but are going to definitely, if you take notes and take this webinar seriously, which you obviously are by being here, you're going to learn so much that could literally change the direction of your career and your life. Meaning you'll be happier practicing law, you will make more money practicing law, and you'll be just profoundly more successful practicing law if you learn about what I'm going to teach today. So I would encourage you to take notes. At the end of this webinar, I'll take questions, and then I'll also show you just some ways to find positions that I'm sure you're not doing, but that can be extremely helpful. And we'll show you, just regardless of your situation, if you're unemployed right now, if you're underemployed and don't have a position that you like, I'm going to teach you about all of this today. So this is just could be a very transformative presentation for your life and for your career. So I'm very glad you're here. I consider this one of the more important webinars that I've ever done. So I would encourage you to, most people always stay for the whole webinar, but to stay and then also to take notes. So in your career, if you are doing certain things when you're practicing and doing certain things with people and other things, you're really never going to have a difficult time finding a job if you're looking for a job or want a job, and also to get work wherever you're working, or even get work when you decide to leave a firm. There's very specific and simple rules that you can follow. And you should be, if you're following these rules, literally without looking for a job, have jobs come to you. And there are attorneys where that happens. I have attorneys that I'm working with that approach me. They will approach me when they're looking for a job. And many times those same attorneys already have offers and things that have come to them even without looking for a job. And I'm talking about how they do that today. So if you're having a difficult time finding a job or getting work wherever you are, or you're doing something wrong in your search, and you're probably doing something wrong in your career, and you're probably sending off the wrong signals to the world, or you may be in the wrong profession, which I'll also talk about. But there's a lot of ways that people think about their jobs. Sometimes people think about them just like they're an employee and people should be giving them work and that's it. And there's other ways to think about your job. If you are suited to the practice of law and you follow the rules and things that I'm going to talk to you about today, you should always have plenty of work. And if you're having a difficult time finding a job or ever finding a position or getting work where you're at, the odds are you've been doing something wrong. And I'm going to tell you what you've been doing wrong. And a lot of people and most attorneys don't know these things. So here's how kind of work can find you. There are out there attorneys that have literally never looked for jobs. Jobs come to them, and they may have done on-campus interviews, but after that, they have plenty of people, firms and other people approaching them looking for jobs, or they're doing such a good job at their current employer that they don't even need to look for a job. There are people that have work and jobs continually coming to them. And if you take something seriously, which I'll talk about today, and seem to be good at what you're doing, the work will find you. And many attorneys that are the most suited to practicing law actually find the idea formally searching for a job, meaning going out and going on job boards and contacting recruiters because they have more than enough work to do and people willing to hire you. For example, I work with partners at large law firms all the time, people that are at AM law firms or even other firms. And when they come to me, they already have a list of places, if you can believe it, that want to hire them. And my job is often just to, connect them with firms they may not know about. But most of the time, the most successful partners and the most successful law firms always have work to do. And in order to not have work to do, they would have to turn down offers. Or if they're working somewhere, just any attorney, in order to stop working, they have to turn down work or give the work away or just quit the profession completely, which I'll talk to you about today. And, the attorneys that have a lot of work and are getting jobs are in that situation because they are the people that people want to give work to. And, I, for example, when I started in a law firm, and I'm going to tell you the things I did to get to that position, I had, people that I knew in the past that had known me, calling me and giving me work to do. And these are people that I knew that started businesses and things and saw how seriously I took everything and knew that I would do the same thing practicing law and put a lot of thought and energy into it. And I took, whatever I did, I had this mentality, whether it was studying in school or working in the summers, I took everything incredibly seriously. And because of that, people would contact me looking to give me work. They would contact me, people that knew me years previously when they found out I was an attorney. And those people also, I was getting calls a lot, even when I was a first-year attorney, of people that were calling me because their friends needed things to do. And they thought that I would do a good job when work was given to me. So obviously, if you look at what I do with this profession, I take it incredibly seriously. I don't even advertise. I have people coming to me. I'm assuming you're on this webinar because you also see how seriously I take this stuff. And so if you get to this point, like I am in practicing law, or any career where you take things incredibly seriously, people are going to want to refer people to you. People are going to want to give you work. People are going to come to you to solve the problems. And that's what happens when you take things seriously. And if the more seriously you take practicing law, the more seriously you take your job, the more people in your firm are going to want to give you work, the more likely people are going to seek you out to give you business. So I'm going to ask you right now, like, how seriously are you taking this profession? Because the more seriously you take it, the more seriously you take anything you do, people are always going to want to give you things to do. And there are attorneys where everybody that they worked with in the past has been amazed by them. They will give them work, pretty much anywhere they go. And we'll refer people to them. We'll say good things about them. And those people will always get referrals or other people potentially willing to hire them. When I quit I quit two jobs in law firms that I, quit the first one I was in and went to another firm. And then I quit another one. And when I quit the second one in a law firm, both firms, tried to get me to stay. And then even when I quit my job and set up a legal recruiting firm, the second firm I was at kept giving me things to do because I told them I thought I was going to set up my own practice. I was more interested in legal placement. I started doing that instead of legal work, but I literally had my old firm referring me lots of work to do. I mean, I walked out and I quit a job, and the firm I was at would have kept me busy actually making more money than when I was there by giving me work to do. So I took every case and every matter that I was given and started working on when I left the practice of law and ended up giving it to another attorney. I went and I got a couple clients. I got retainer checks. One was 30,000. The other was like 10,000. I never cashed them because I was too interested in legal recruiting and literally glued to my desk doing that, taking it extremely seriously. But I literally had money coming to me from meetings and things that I had when I left. And again, there's nothing special about me other than how seriously I was taking this and how serious other people saw me doing this. But literally, when I left the practice of law, I had clients coming to me in practice areas that had nothing to do with what I had experienced in. One of them was divorce, a divorce law. I got a divorce of the dean of Pepperdine, which was a high net worth divorce that they came from a referral from my firm. I got another one that was a very serious DUI that would have taken a lot of work. The person was caught with crystal meth. And I mean, but I got a lot of work when I left. And then even after I quit the practice of law and I hadn't been practicing for a while, I got a retainer check for $10,000 in the mail just because I took a case and sent it to him without even expecting anything in return. So the point I'm trying to make to you is the more seriously you take things, the more work is going to go your way, even if you quit a law firm. I mean, it's absolutely incredible what can happen when you take your job just unbelievably seriously. You make it the most important thing in the world. Now, I'm not saying that you need to do what I did, but I am saying that that this sort of thing will happen. And then even when I left the practice of law, I had attorneys that I'd worked with in the past calling me, telling me they wanted me to start law firms with them. And again, I am not like the smartest person when it comes to the practice of law, meaning there were people out there that were much more intelligent than me. But I took it very seriously. And then a really funny thing happened. I had been interviewing with law firms when I was deciding whether or not I was going to leave the practice of law. And I had on the same day, I had a really funny thing happen. I had a candidate interviewing at the law firm Aiken Gump in Los Angeles. And so the firm called me up one day, and this is a true story. It's very funny. They called up to interview one of my candidates, the recruiting coordinator, and then later in the day, she called me and made me an offer, and I'd interviewed with them months earlier. So I mean, it's very, very funny that happened, but that's actually a true story. So I'm going to show you how to do these things well, where that can happen. It can happen to anybody that takes this stuff seriously, and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to get to the kind of point that I was. And the point that I was is no different than the successful attorneys I work with. People want to give them work. People want to keep them working. People want, I mean, they just love them. I have a woman right now that is was a trust and estates attorney at a law firm in Seattle. And she quit her job and set up her own practice. And she was making maybe $90,000 a year at this firm. And she did such good work that the law firm, when they found out she was starting her own practice, continued giving her work. And they gave her work. They split the fees of the client or clients that were giving him work because they wanted to make sure it was done really, really well. And they thought she did a good job. So she's billing out at like $300 an hour, and they're giving her work at $150 an hour. And she has more work than she can handle and will actually make a lot more money with all this work than she was making when she was working there. She was that good. And I've seen this stuff happen on numerous occasions. I had another woman that was in where was she? She moved to Portland, and she had been working as a trademark attorney for a large law firm in where was it? In Las Vegas. I think it was Greenberg Traurig. And the same thing happened to her. So she moved, and they continued giving her work. And this was a much higher billing rate. It was like maybe I don't know, $600 or $700 an hour, and they did the same thing. They gave her a portion of it, and she ended up making more money because they wanted to keep her giving her work. And she'd moved there because her daughter was sick or something, I don't remember, but stayed employed even when she quit a law firm. So, for me, I actually wasn't that suited to practicing law. I enjoyed parts of it, but it wasn't something that I was fully committed to, and I thought my skills would be better, used elsewhere. So, if I can get these results, you can get the same, results that I did, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So, why does work come to you? Why do people want to hire you? Why do people want to keep you employed, like my candidates I was telling you about? Why do people want to continue giving you work? And I learned these lessons, and I value these lessons today because they can help you develop skills and a reputation that's desirable in any market that you're in. And if you master what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to give you a list of the most important things, you're going to do very well practicing law, and you're actually never going to have a difficult time finding work to do. So my goal for this presentation and my goal for you is for you to have like an awesome career and the best career possible. It doesn't matter what practice area you're in. You could be in trust and estates, you could be in personal injury, you could be in corporate law. I just had a very good conversation with a corporate attorney where I was teaching him how to do this. And you're never going to have a difficult time finding work to do. So I want you to, think forward about, after watching this presentation, the things that you can do and how your life and career can change, how people around you may be succeeding. You don't understand how they're doing it when you're not. I'm going to teach you all that. And I really do see a better future for you after you learn these things. So the first thing you need to do is you need to find powerful people in whatever law firm you're in, the most powerful people to take an interest in you. And I learned this lesson when I was in law school, and I actually learned it prior to law school. I'll tell you a quick story that's pretty funny. I was had good grades in college. I was like a Rhodes Scholar finalist, and there was a professor at the University of Chicago Law School that was in charge of the Rhodes Scholar program. And there was another woman that I knew that was worked for him, and she was also like a very, very good student at the University of Chicago and was also part of this Rhodes Scholar thing, which they only nominated, I think, 5 students from the entire school to do it. And she was also part of it and worked with a professor as his kind of personal assistant, helping him with research and things at the University of Chicago Law School. And she wanted to go to Stanford Law School. So she sent out her application sometime in the fall, like maybe in October. And she sent it out on excuse me for that. She sent her application out to Stanford like on a Monday or something. And the following Tuesday, meaning 8 days later, she got an acceptance letter from Stanford. And obviously this this guy at the University of Chicago Law School helped her, this professor. But think about that, applying to a school like Stanford and getting accepted, like your application's like turned around in 24 hours or something. I mean, that's absolutely incredible, especially for a small law school like Stanford with under 200 people. But she was someone that worked for this guy and gave everything she had to helping him as well as in school, and became he thought so highly of her that he was able to pull strings and get her into that school very, very quickly. Just amazing. I couldn't believe it, but I knew that it was because of that, and it was just absolutely amazing. And obviously, she was a good student, had good LSAT scores and so forth, but not enough alone to get accepted to a school like that. So you can get accepted to schools when you have a very good reputation from someone powerful, but you can also get jobs. So when I was in law school, I was sitting outside the office of this very influential professor. His name, I think, was Saul Levmore, and he's now for several years has been the dean of the University of Chicago Law School. But I went to law school at the University of Virginia, and he was a professor there at the time. And I was sitting outside his office trying to talk to him about something so I could get a better grade. And I always did that with my professors. I went in and I would study whatever they were teaching at the time in great detail. I would learn everything I could. If they were teaching a matter about something, I would go in and I would be over prepared and go in and talk to them about whatever, ask them for advice on this thing that I was over prepared for, because I would want to impress them. I would read papers that they'd written and things that weren't even assigned, and go in and I would do everything I could to impress them, because I took school extremely seriously. But I was sitting outside this professor's office and waiting to talk to him and try to impress him with myself and ask questions so he would think about me and give me a better grade and get him to like me by telling him I liked his papers and things, which I did all through college and law school to get good grades, which no one else would, hardly anybody else would do. And I was sitting outside his office and I heard something extraordinary, and I'll never forget it. He was speaking with a law firm that had done some on-campus interviews, and he was recommending to the firm, who they should hire and so forth from several people they interviewed. But it was the same thing with him. I heard him mention this female classmate of mine, and he was talking very, very positively about her, and the girl had decent grades, but from what I understood, and I could have been wrong, they weren't quite as good as, other people from this, top five firm in the country with, hires the very, very, very best people. But she worked for him, and was his assistant. And I would see her, running around doing things for him and talking to him all the time. And she got a job with this firm. So on campus interviewing, firm, he finds out who she's interviewing with, and calls the firm and promotes her. And I didn't even know that sort of thing happened, but it did. So she was someone that took working for him very, very seriously. And because of that, he promoted her and got her a job, just like the girl I was telling you about, that got into the University of Chicago law. I mean, got in to Stanford Law School. So that sort of things happens. And so I've seen lots of people in my life advance, a tremendous number of them be taken care of, promoted, and doing very well with people to take a strong interest in them. Now, most people go to law firms, and they don't think about who they're getting work for. They don't think about who they need to impress. They just kind of go in there and take work that's given to them in assignments. But in reality, what you need to do is you need to find the most influential people you possibly can to take a special interest in you. When you find those people that take a special interest in you, they can transform your career and they can transform your life. These people literally can do things for you that you would never do on your own. They can look after you for decades, even after you've left a firm. And those influential people, if they take an interest in you and you impress them and you become their go-to person and you do more than is asked and you go out of your way to do whatever they need and to give them respect and to stick up for them and make sure they know that you're on their side. Those people can take, if they take an interest in you, they're going to completely transform your life and your career. All you have to do is do the best work you can. And they will make sure that you're employed as long as they have the power to keep you employed. If they leave the firm, they will take you with them. If they're at the firm, they will make you a partner, then push you to be a partner, and do all these things that can help you just tremendously. I had, after the financial crisis of 2008, I had a attorney who was at a major New York law firm in Hong Kong. And he got that job doing the same thing, impressing the right people. But he had a job at a major New York law firm in Hong Kong, and he worked very, very hard for a partner in the firm. But after the 2008 market crash, the firm literally let go all of the people. I think he was in capital markets that were doing work for him. And I would assume that most of those people that were laid off tried to get jobs back in the U.S. There were no jobs, so they just kind of would sit around unemployed. But he managed to work for one of the most influential partners, but there wasn't enough work in that office to Sherman and Sterling to sustain him. So he looked for several weeks for a position. He couldn't find any other positions in law firms because no one was hiring, but he kept trying, and he became very depressed. And then one day, his phone rang, and one of the partner's clients was searching for an assistant general counsel in a wonderful part of the world, Bermuda. And within a week, he was able to get a job there by traveling to there and interviewing. And he's still at that company and has got incredible stock options, and is making as much money, several millions of dollars a year, as he would make, probably more than he would ever make in a law firm. He's happy, successful, he's doing well, and has been at that since 2008, been there. That all happened because he took whatever he was doing for that person very, very seriously. And that person, after he left, the first opportunity they had to hire, he had to push him into a job. He was able to get him into that job. And none of this would have happened had he not had a champion behind him. Most attorneys who become partners inside of law firms, they have powerful champions that are promoting them and selling them to others in the firm. So how does it work when you become a partner in a law firm? Well, a lot of people that become partners, they have to really kind of be sponsored by one attorney sometimes in that firm that is powerful enough to get things done and to have them become a partner. Those partners that are behind them typically have a lot of business, and those partners with a lot of business have a lot of sway because the firm wants to make them happy. And so if someone with $10 million in business or 5 million, depending on the size of the firm, is promoting you and pushing for you to be a partner, the firm wants to respect what that partner needs because that partner has a lot of business that the firm relies on. That partner also has enough work many times to keep that person busy, whereas someone else that's just kind of randomly promoted won't have them. So partners that are in trouble, or I mean, associates don't make partner, it's typically because they just can't get someone powerful enough behind them. I was talking to a guy that had gone to Harvard Law School and had been at Quinn Emanuel, and said, when he didn't make partner, the reason is he didn't really have a powerful champion, and so he ended up starting his own law firm instead of staying there. But he didn't really have another choice, and he said the main reason was because he didn't have a champion. Inside of most major law firms, there are partners that promoted different associates and things, and actually are able to keep them occupied with work once they do that. And most of the time, a lot of times those partners will follow, make other people partner in the firms. I had a interesting thing happened. This is with I was sitting next to a plane with a corporate partner at Latham and Watkins in Orange County. Extremely difficult to become a partner in a firm like Latham and Watkins in Orange County because, first of all, it's not the Los Angeles office, and second of all, that there's just not a ton of corporate related work. And I was sitting next to him, and I was like, "How did this happen?" And he said that there was a partner there that had a ton of business doing this interesting form of M&A with pharmaceutical companies or something. He worked for that partner for 10 years, and then that partner, when he was getting close to retirement for the next year or two, gave him this huge book of business and introduced him to all the clients so he could take over the work. And so when that partner retired, this person literally had a book of business in the tens of millions of dollars. And he got this all by just being completely all in for this person he worked for, not just an associate that was hired for 2 years and then left, but someone that went there and did everything he possibly could to have that partner's back, to work very, very hard for him, to do everything within his power, not even knowing that this person was going to retire. So when he retired, he had all this business, he had client contacts, and because of all this, the firm was in a position to make him a partner. Now, if you're an associate in a large law firm trying to make partner, or you're in any type of law firm trying to make partner, you have to get aligned with very, very powerful people, and you have to be their go-to person, and you have to do everything in your power to impress them. When I was in my last law firm, Dewey Ballantyne in Los Angeles, they brought over several partners from this law firm named Paul Hastings, and a couple of those partners were extremely powerful, meaning they had $30 million plus books of business. And when they came over, they brought some people with them that didn't have business, but that had been working for them for 15, 20 years, and they did extremely well. I know that because I went to parties at their houses, these people that didn't have any business, and were living very, very well, probably like the equivalent of a $7 or $8 million house now. So I don't know what it would take to kind of income to live there, but they were obviously doing very well, didn't have business, but had aligned themselves through the course of their career with very powerful people, were the go-to people, and because of that, had very, very good careers with stability because they were working for people with a lot of business. So you don't even need to get business to do this. I mean, you can impress anybody. You can also do that with clients. So if you're working in a law firm and you're working for a big client there, and you're just the most amazing attorney they've ever seen, you give them better service than even partners are giving them. You just go out of your way to blow them away and provide, just be extremely valuable. You could move to another law firm and they could literally pick up the phone and start giving you work. This happens all the time. I'm working with associates all the time that will say to me, like, if I go to another firm, I'm pretty sure this big client will follow me. And they do. So it happens. It doesn't happen more than 50% of the time, because most of the time the relationships are with partners, but it can happen. It can happen even 25% of the time. It can happen if you do really, really good work for people. I was working recently, for with a senior associate. He was unhappy in his law firm, and he was working with a partner that had a very large, it was doing a lot of billings for the law firm. I mean, it was over $2 million from this one client per year. And, this particular partner was very powerful. He had clients that brought in even bigger, more business. He didn't spend a lot of time with the client anymore. He kind of took the client for granted, and made the associate, doing work for this client. And this senior associate would anticipate the client's needs, would come up with extra work that could be done for this client, save the client money, got things done, at a cheaper cost than other law firms were doing, got the better edge in transactions, and kept this particular client out of trouble better than any other attorney at any other law firm, or doing work for him much better than even the partner was doing. He made sure that he knew how important this client was, and that he basically lived and breathed whatever this client needed, and just did the absolute best he could for that client. And the client had never gotten this type of service from any client, and from any major firm. And he was very happy with the work. The partner that was giving him the work to do and allowing him to manage this client had to give him the work because the client was so pleased with the work that the senior associate was doing. Just imagine if you had a client and you were doing everything you possibly could to provide them good service, and you had a very good relationship with them compared to the partners, and just did everything you can. And this one day, this client told the senior associate that if he was ever looking for a new law firm, that they would, come over with him, because they had every incentive to, because the quality of work he was doing. It was better than any law firm. And so when the senior associate did move, he took this book of business with him, which was billing out at $2 million a year. And none of this would have happened or been possible had the senior associate not been doing really, really good work for that client. And so because he did, that's what ended up happening. So what I'm saying to you is that you need very powerful people that are behind you. You need people that are going to, where you concentrate your energies, where those people are going to be able to help you. If you're working for people without business, or are not highly regarded by the firm, then you're going to have, you're not going to be in as good of a place than if you're working for very powerful people or working for very powerful clients. So you need to put yourself in a position where you are able to seek out work from those people, get work for those people, and really want to be behind you. The people like that will reciprocate your dedication to them. They will feel obligated because you will be doing better work, being more available, doing everything in your power to make sure that that person thinks you're an excellent attorney. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. There are attorneys in every market that have good reputations and don't. There are senior associates in every market that have incredible reputations and don't. So you want to be the kind of person that has that reputation. And when people with really good reputations move firms, then the word gets around. It'll get around even to the new firm what a great reputation they have. Now, I will tell you, if you don't have a good reputation right now, attorneys are very hesitant to say negative things about other attorneys when you move. So it's very rare that someone, if you did bad work or you had problems in a previous job, that reference is going to say anything bad about you, because there's kind of an unwritten code in the legal profession where people will not really want to say negative things about others. It's just kind of the code of lawyers. But in terms of if you have a good reputation, people will say that. I remember hiring a recruiter once who was an outstanding recruiter, just very, very good. And she came over to our company and started working here. And I literally, she was in Washington, D.C., and two law firms that I was working with told me that what a great reputation she had in that market for the work that she had done at a previous firm. So her reputation literally followed her to a recruiting firm, and people told me about that. So, there are people out there that will never reciprocate the work you do. They may never appreciate it, even though hard you work. They may just expect you to work really hard and never reciprocate. So you need to find, who's getting ahead, who has the business, who looks like they're going to reciprocate my dedication. So there will be people that you don't click with, there are partners that you don't click with, you have different types of personalities, and those sorts of people may never reciprocate anything that you do for them. And so you need to kind of watch out and figure out who the people are that are likely to reciprocate the work. And when you find those people, do good work for them. And that's just very important. You don't want to work for people that you don't think are going to reciprocate. And there are people that just naturally, for whatever reason, aren't going to like you very much because you don't share their personality type, or they're just not, really good people to reciprocate. And if those kind of people are there, then don't worry about it. I mean, don't work for them. Or if you're at a firm where you feel that the firm or no one in it is never going to reciprocate, then you need to find a firm that where there's people that will do that. And so you need to avoid these situations at all costs. You don't want to put years of your life into someone that's not going to help you, or to a firm that's not going to help you. So you need to find a situation where you can go all in and where that's going to lead to something. And if it's not, then that's a very good reason for finding a new firm. And again, there are firms where that's not going to happen. There are people that you're working for where that's not going to happen. I was working for a partner in I'm just looking for something here that looks like it dropped. I was working for a partner in a very large law firm, and not a very large law firm. It was actually maybe a 40-person law firm in Tampa, Florida. And that firm was getting ready to potentially merge into another firm. And this partner literally told me that, we don't need associates to go with us. Associates are easy to hire, we don't want to keep them around too long, and that sort of thing. So there are literally firms that are just bad places. And you might be in that situation, and you need to find a place where you can dedicate all of your efforts to someone, and they will reciprocate, and they will usually make you a partner or reciprocate. The reason people make partners in law firms is because the firm has to make them a partner. They're too valuable. They don't want them to leave. That's the only reason a firm will make you a partner. They're not just going to make you a partner because you're sitting around there. It's the same thing with clients. The only reason the client will stick with you is because you're giving them better service and you're doing a better job than they can get elsewhere, and you're providing them a lot of advantages. That's the only reason a client will stick with you. A lot of times people want to go in-house. The best way to get an in-house position is not to go on job boards and search for it. The best way to get an in-house position is to do an incredible job working for firms you're working for. So, and working for clients in the firm. So if you become indispensable to a client and you want to go work for that client, and the client believes that you can save them money on the fees the firm's charging and so forth, and they really like your work, then that's how people get in-house jobs. That's how most people get in-house jobs, by the way. So if that's your goal, you should be doing everything you can for the client, and trying to make it seem like, if you were there, you'd save them even more money because they wouldn't have to pay for outside counsel as much, and also that you understand their business, and you're just a really, really good worker, and they'll want to hire you to be in-house counsel. This is how most people get in-house jobs. So you need to really find powerful people. That's your job. You find powerful clients that can advance your interest. You find powerful partners that can advance your interest, and you do everything you can to impress those people. And if you do, and those people take an interest in you and want to help you, it will help you. I've told you a lot of stories just now about people getting into law school doing that, people getting jobs in law school doing that, people getting jobs after they get laid off who did that, people that are becoming partner because they do that. All this particular lesson I'm teaching you may be one of the most powerful lessons you learn in your career, because if you follow this advice and you learn how to have powerful people behind you, you will never not have work to do. You will have they will be very difficult if the person's powerful enough for them not to make you partner. And this is what you need to do. Now, it doesn't mean you can't do work for other people, but it means that whoever that powerful person is, you need to do everything you possibly can to get more and more work for them, to give them more and more of what they want, to have their back and to be on their side. There are people that will complain about partners they're working for. That usually gets back to people. If you think something, by the way, if you think something negatively about a partner, then that partner you can lose your job because you will, if you're thinking negative things, you typically will show it and people can pick it up. There's a thing that I talked about before in webinars, but I think it's kind of interesting because it taught me a very powerful lesson. My father was in the CIA, and one day he would do these kind of weird things where he would have meetings, and it would be he would go into like a doctor's office somewhere, and then his handler would show up and talk to him about these issues. So because if he was being followed, it would just look like he was going to the doctor, and whatever the CIA would have a way of like meeting him there. And he was talking to a one of his handlers once, and he was saying something negative about this person that he was working with and befriending to spy on them. And his handler said, if you think something about someone, you'll show it. So you never want to think negatively about people. You want to basically think very, very positive things about powerful partners and people that you're working for, because if you do, you'll show it. So write down the reasons you like them, write down the reasons they can help you, and just really treat them like the kind of person they are, like someone that can change the direction of your life and your career. And even if you did this with professors in law school, they can help you. I mean, I've seen lots of people get jobs based on relationships they had with professors even after they left school. I mean, there's so many people out there that can help you. If you do really good work for people that are not even practicing law and they get into a position that can help you. So just all these things can make just a huge difference. And then the other one is helping others when you can. So a lot of people view other associates they're working with, even other partners they're working with. If they're a partner, they view them as adversaries for advancement, for getting work and so forth. But one of the most important things you can possibly do as an attorney is to develop a reputation for supporting others whenever possible. You want to be seen as someone that's there to offer advice and encouragement and help other people with their work wherever possible. At the two firms I was at, there was a partner, the first firm, and then also when I did a clerkship, the judge I worked for at a clerkship gave me a ton of writing experience, like how to write things that were very direct without using a lot of words, how to have very succinct writing when you wrote legal opinions, and then just how to do that very, very well, how to never make grammatical errors in your writing, how to proofread things very carefully, how to do things that were made me a very, very good writer where I hadn't been before. And he took it extremely seriously. The judge I worked for took writing extremely seriously, and the reason he did is because he wanted people to be able to trust his legal analysis. And he said that if any of the work you're doing has typos in it, has bad grammar in it, has mistakes in it, then people won't trust the legal reasoning. So they look at the quality of the words you use, how well it's written, and based on that, they make assumptions based on how good your legal reasoning is. And this is the same thing with if you're a junior associate doing writing for for partners, and you're making mistakes, then they will think the same thing. If you're a partner and you're giving work to a client, and the general counsel looks things over and sees errors, then they're going to think the same thing, that there's something wrong with your legal reasoning. if you're sending letters to opposing counsel or other people and you're making those sorts of errors, that looks bad for the attorney and the law firm sending them. At the first, and these are things that you need to learn. You don't, even if the people you're working with aren't doing perfect work, the partners, you need to do perfect work, and you need to do whatever you can to make that work very, very good. So at the first firm I worked at, a partner, the same thing happened to me. A partner who was an excellent writer became my friend, and I don't even remember how that happened, but he took me under his wing, and he showed me how to write extremely effectively using fewer words, being direct as possible, doing things like if you're writing a brief to make it easy to read, putting descriptive subject headings at least usually once on every page. So basically saying, this is my next argument, and making it bold and a subject heading so a judge could scan it very, very easily and read the argument instead of having to delve in and read all this stuff and maybe not see the same conclusion. So he taught me how to do that. He didn't have to do that, but in a short period, like maybe over 6 weeks, working for him, he taught me how to do this and to write very, very well, like a partner, like a very good partner. And he even gave me a good book about writing that he'd read that when he was younger. And the book wasn't even published anymore, but he managed to find me a copy of it. And he made my legal writing very, very good. And it was a kind thing for him to do. He didn't have to do it. I think it was very nice of him to do it, and I appreciated it. And then I moved to a new law firm, and other associates and things. I started getting their work, and it didn't do hardly any of these things. It wasn't good, and it was a firm where everyone was from Stanford and Harvard, mostly, in places like that. And so I would take a look at, I took a look at one person's brief and spent like a couple hours marking it up and fixing it and crossing things out. I didn't have to do that. I didn't bill for that, but I did this with this associate, to help their legal writing. Pretty soon, other associates started giving me this, asking me to help them with things. And again, I wasn't billing for it. I was helping them on my own time. And I was being very selfless and wanted to help them. And there were a couple of people where I did that for them, and it just, when someone marks something up like that and you see what you're doing wrong, don't like it. But most of those people appreciated it. I just helped other people, and I did this because I wanted to. I did this after work. I would do it in front of a television. When I was at home, if I got home at like 8 o'clock, I would do it. And then when I left the practice of law and they found out that I was recruiting, two of the people that I'd helped came to me and asked them for help moving firms. I also received referrals from other people in this firm. And then even, after I left, I had some of those associates want to join me being, my recruiting firm. And I think, trying to remember what happened. And some of them actually did join me, and they wanted to because they realized that probably thought that I would do very well, and they appreciated the help that I had given them. One of them actually was a partner at a major law firm, White and Case, that joined me as a recruiter. So I didn't seek any of this out, but because I'd helped these people with something that I knew and that I understood, these people came to me later, and that brought me financial rewards working in my recruiting firm. And so if you develop a reputation as someone that's a giver and not a taker, and honestly trying to help people, it's going to come back to you. People will appreciate it. People appreciate it when you do things behind their back. I remember, I'll tell the story in a little bit, but it's very true in the legal world. I mean, very few people have an interest in helping others. Very few people go out of their way to help others. Many times people are competitive with others, but if you're actually helping people and benefiting them in a good and a nice way, it's going to make a huge difference. You need to be seen as someone that can't be taken advantage of, obviously, but your ability to help others is going to be received, as something very positive. And and will help you. I had another thing happen. I was just going to tell a quick story. I had this guy when I was in high school, and people were always making fun of him, excluding him from friend groups and things. And no one was really on this guy's side. So he was very lone, didn't have things to do on the weekends and stuff. And I met him and liked him. And I had some obviously had influence with my friend group. And I told everyone what a great guy he was, like why they should be friends with him. I stuck up for him. I included him in different things. And it's kind of remarkable. But that got back to him later, like maybe when he was a senior or something, that I had done all this stuff for him. And after I did all this stuff for him, I was just kind of a casual acquaintance of him. But it's just remarkable. He calls me every year on my birthday. He's just very, very indebted for the help that I gave him, and remembered it and appreciated it. And I don't think he's indebted, but he's just he's someone that's always there for me and my friend because I helped him. The other thing that I'd just like to bring up too, and I've already touched on this a little bit, but you always want to take your job very, very seriously. People will hire and refer work to people who take their work extremely seriously. When your peers are evaluating you or clients are evaluating you, one of the things that they're asking themselves is, what I want this person representing me if I had a legal problem. So if a peer is looking at you, would they think that this is someone that I would want to give work to, or are they thinking this is someone that's not that enthusiastic about practice the law or has a lot of complaints? In every law firm, by the way, or any employer that you're working on or working for, there are people that are on the side of the employer and supporting it, and dedicated to the employer and dedicated to the clients, and will not get involved in negative conversations or be on the side of people that have negative opinions of the firm. And there's always in every firm, large and small, going to be people that have negative opinions, and there's going to be people that have positive opinions. So you want to be on the side of people that have positive opinions, because the people with positive opinions are typically going to work harder. They're going to be more dedicated. They're going to be associated with doing hard work, doing good work, and getting along with others. And then there will be people that aren't part of that. And you want to be someone that's part of the positive opinion of the firm, and part of the, not involved in this negative stuff. People that are involved in negative stuff, by the way, will always end up most of the time losing jobs. And the people that are involved in negative stuff will not have partners saying positive things about them when they leave. They will not have partners helping them when they leave or when they're there. Once you get on the side of people that are negative, you're basically on the way out. People will give you less work. People won't trust you, all those sorts of things. And you want to be on the side of people that are positive. And when you're doing work for partners, you want them to think this is the kind of person that I would want representing me if I had a legal problem. You want clients to think that. You want your peers to think that. Do your peers think you're the type of person that would be working, that would want to work for them if they had a legal problem? I mean, think about that. Is that something that your peers think of you? Do other associates in your firm think that? Do other people that you work with wherever you're working in the government, and is that how they think of you, or did they think of you as someone that doesn't, it's just kind of pushing the barrel forward and doing what's asked of them? Or did they think that you're someone that just takes this very, very seriously, always does the best job you can, someone that they would want to refer work to, and someone that they would want to hire if they're unemployed? People that do very, very good work. Imagine if you're in there's 20, 30 associates, and you develop the reputation among all of them as being one of the hardest and best workers and doing the best work, and someone that a client would want to represent. Those people will be your advocates throughout your entire career. They will be on your side your entire career. One of the things that was very interesting, I was at Quinn Emanuel, and I was at Quinn Emanuel when the firm was pretty small. It was like just starting to ramp up to the 1,000+ attorney firm it is today. But I was there when the firm was very small. And John Quinn and Bill Urquhart, the heads of the firm, would have these things once a month where they would get together and kind of tell their stories about what was working and what wasn't to all the associates, and then other partners would be there too. And John Quinn said something that was just very, very interesting. And this is for someone, by the way, that developed this 1,000 person law firm. He said that his biggest regret wasn't doing a better job impressing people and networking with them when he was a law student at Harvard, and then when he came out in his first firm. So his biggest regrets were not impressing the people around him and connecting more with the people around him, even when he was in law school. He thought that he had failed by not doing a better job with that. So that's one thing he did. Then the other thing he did that helped him get clients is, he started out the firm doing a lot of employment related litigation that didn't pay a lot, but that's how they got work in. So they would call companies that had been sued by, he would cold call them. He would get lists of the people that were sued. Each day you can get a list of all the cases that are filed, like in LA County. He would get a list of all those. He would see companies that had been sued, and he would call them up and say, hey, I used to be an attorney at Cravath. I can help you with this work. I've got this small law firm. I would like to do this, can I do this employment work for you? And his approach to those clients was he would just blow them away, would do the absolute best work, even though this was not high paid legal fees, none of that. He would do the absolute best work he could for them, better than anyone had ever done in the employment matters. He would be more attentive to them. He would work even harder. And then he would continue monitoring these people that were being sued. And then he would see his clients being sued for commercial litigation matters. And commercial litigation is, someone that gets, sues a department store for falling down in the bathroom is a different type of case than a client that gets sued for, violating some contract involving $10 million or whatever. So he would call those same clients and he would say, I've done all this really good employment work for you. Can you give me this commercial litigation case? If you give it to me, I will eat, breathe, and sleep it. That's what he used to say to clients. I will eat, breathe, and sleep this case. I will do everything in my power to do a good job. And he would just do everything he possibly could to do a good job for these clients. Those clients were very impressed with the work that he did. And then he ended up getting a huge case. It was General Motors versus Lopez, which was probably like in 1997, where General Motors sued this guy named Lopez for taking all these trade secrets over to Volkswagen. It was a huge case all over the news, and somehow he managed to get that through a referral of someone that he impressed. The firm was written up as this incredible little litigation firm in Los Angeles, and suddenly everyone wanted to hire them and everyone wanted to work there. But getting a reputation for someone that eats, breathes, and sleeps what you do, really impressing clients, really impressing the people you work for is going to have massive, massive rewards. And that's the genesis of what now is considered probably the best all litigation firm in the country, or at least, with Sussman and some other ones among the very, very top ones, just by developing that reputation. You need to be referable, and being referable means you need to do the best job you possibly can. And every piece of work you do, you want to be seen as someone that you would want to give work to if you were a client. So are you doing the type of work that you would want a client to have, or that a client would want if you were working for them? Or would you refer, if you were a client, would you want you working on their matter? And do people think that if you had your own firm, would you be what the kind of person that they would want? You take work seriously, and the best people out there do writing, editing, negotiating, arguing, and everything they can to get the best possible result in every transaction or every piece of litigation. They do the absolute best on everything they work on. And when you do that, others will look out for you. I had this incredible candidate that I spoke with, and she may actually be on the call, but she does this cybersecurity related stuff. And she just doesn't, and she's maybe a second or third year attorney. She doesn't just do cybersecurity. She's on every every possible committee that she can get on outside of work, about cybersecurity. She's probably written as a second or third year attorney, probably like 10 or 15 articles about cybersecurity. She's given presentations wherever she can about cybersecurity. She's done all these incredible things about cybersecurity that make her resume literally like 3 or 4 pages of writing and speaking and all this sort of stuff from a major New York law firm. And then she kept asking the law firm she was at, do you have any, is there anything I can do to improve? Is there anything I can do to improve? And kept asking the firm that whenever she would get a review. And everybody just said, no, you're doing perfect work. But then she went into one review, and they said, well, maybe your writing could be a little bit better. That's the only feedback she received up to maybe, I think she was maybe a third year. That's the only ever piece of concrete advice she received. So she received that advice and she said, what can I do to improve my writing? I'm not going to get, I'm doing all this other stuff. I really want to spend a year concentrating on my writing. So she went and did a federal appellate clerkship so she could get input on her writing for over a year to be the absolute best attorney she could be. It was just incredible when you think about it. And but how, someone that's doing writing and speaking and building this huge resume that just blows away. I mean, there's not even any. I haven't seen associates probably ever have that much material on their resume about this or commit to it so much, and doing all this still, having very little free time, getting at work at 9:30 and working till 1 in the morning, just completely committed. And so, doing the absolute best she could in every single aspect of her practice. I looked at that, and if I had cybersecurity work, I would give it to her. Why would I give it to someone else that just says, "Oh, I'm at a big firm doing cybersecurity," or someone that's just completely all in and takes this just unbelievably seriously? So think about it from your own point of view. So, when I was at law firms, I'm probably not Quinn Emanuel as much, but there are certain attorneys that will do everything within their power to win cases. They will fight and they will do whatever they possibly can to win every single case and every single thing that they're on, or every single matter that they're on. And when I was a law firm, I knew people that would never speak negatively about clients. They would always put in a full an enthusiastic effort with everything that they worked on. They got incredibly charged up about the work, and they wanted to do it. They were very enthusiastic. If they weren't, they were, just all in. They were doing everything that they could. They would do extra reading or writing about their practice area. They would just be completely in it. And when I stopped practicing law, I had opportunities to refer work too, because people were referring work to me, or I was talking to companies that were looking for attorneys. And I would always talk about these people and just say, these people are just incredible. Like, you need to hire them. And because I knew they would be good to hire because they always put in their absolute best effort. They did everything that they could. And then I knew lots of attorneys that at different firms that would cut corners. They didn't care so much about the work. They were always talking about wanting to do something else and not committed. And I never, had the opportunity. I never referred work to those attorneys. And if you're going to be successful and you want to be employed, you need to be referable. You need to be someone that's not talking negatively about the firm and cutting corners and complaining about the people that are giving you work, but you never should. Why would you complain about someone that's giving you a paycheck and training you? I mean, that's crazy, but people do. And you want to have a positive reputation. If you do, people are going to talk about you. They're going to want to give you work. They're going to want to give you jobs because they see how seriously you take things, and they will know, and you'll enhance a reputation by doing a good job. Anybody that does really good work and is referred, they do, people, that enhances their reputation, and so it makes people that are referring work to someone that does really, really good work look good. So you want to be that kind of person. You don't want to complain about the clients you're working on. You don't want to, cut corners. You don't want to overbill clients. You want to try to get them, show them you're saving them money. and you want to get the reputation of someone that takes their work seriously. Your job as an attorney, regardless of what practice area you are in, is to be an advocate for other people. And if you come across as like a very all-in advocate to your peers and your employers and so forth, then you're going to serve yourself well. Why wouldn't you want to do that? Because that's your job. Your job as an attorney, and you just have to understand this, is to be the best possible advocate you can be for other people. If you're not a good advocate for other people, then you're not likely to succeed. And if you come across your peers and your employers as an advocate, then they're going to want to give you work. I want to tell just a couple other quick stories, just because I think this is so important about the importance of being an advocate and not being an advocate. When I was practicing law, there was a partner in the firm that I was working at, my last firm, Dewey Valentine, and he was very smart. I mean, yes, I've run across very few people in my career that are like so smart that they see things that just normal attorneys don't. I mean, just in a way that is astonishing. Like they can just take a matter and dissect it and understand something very, very complex. And their ability to understand things is just astonishing. So this was one of those attorneys. And I remember I was standing with him outside his office, and he was talking to another associate. Maybe he was talking to just me, but he was talking about this client that we were working on, and it was a big client. It was a Sultan of Brunei who had limitless funds, and he was talking about this client, and he was talking about him in a very negative way and saying negative things about him and so forth, and kind of poisoning the well in terms of what I thought about this client. I remember even at the time I thought to myself, this guy isn't, this is not good. This person shouldn't be talking that way about the client. And sure enough, he ended up losing his position at this firm eventually because he didn't have a big book of business, and all he could do was set up his own solo position. So he went from working at a major New York law firm to having to only set up his own firm, and I don't think his firm did very well because he ended up becoming a Superior Court judge. So couldn't get any work. He wasn't an advocate for his clients. Another thing that happens with attorneys, and this is very, very important for you to understand, and this is a big thing in the legal profession that a lot of people don't catch on to, but is very important. If you're looking for a job, you're doing anything to try to get a position, and you start saying negative things about yourself, like you're not your best advocate for yourself. Those people don't get jobs. They almost never get jobs. You go into interviews and you say negative things about yourself, or you don't make your resume in a way that makes you look like the best advocate for yourself, then you won't get hired. Attorneys also don't respect attorneys that have been out of work a long time because they haven't been good advocates for themselves, and people aren't referring them work. And I think it comes down to, I don't know why this is such a major subtext in the legal profession, but the idea is that if you're an attorney and you're representing a murder or something, you can't say anything negative about them. You need to take their side. You need to find the angles and things that make them win. And that's what an advocate does. An advocate does not talk about negative things about their clients, because they're the advocate. And so the legal profession doesn't respect people that talk negatively about their clients or even talk negatively about themselves. Like, you have to take your job, whoever you're working with, extremely seriously. You should watch crime shows. When you watch crime shows, sometimes if someone that's been convicted and so forth, they'll often interview that attorney or that person's convicted of murder or something awful. You'll often you'll see them interviewing the attorney that represented the accused, and the attorney that represented the accused will never say anything negative about the client. They'll always say, well, this is wrong that they were convicted. This is what happened. Even if, there's compelling evidence, you have to be able to take the side of your clients, and you have to be able to take your side. If you go into interviews and you're not taking your side, that you're not taking your own side, then you're probably going to have a difficult time getting hired. You need to do everything you can when you're looking for a job to be your own advocate and to get hired and to make your resume right and apply to a lot of places. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that today. The other thing is you need to be promoting yourself. So how do you promote yourself? Promoting yourself means doing things both inside and outside wherever you're working. You have to be able to promote, yourself as a contributor and someone that's promoting yourself in a way that doesn't always lead to immediate compensation. You need to be seen in order to get hired. In order for a client to hire you, they need to see you. So they need to know who you are to have work referred. So how are clients seeing you? It means you're doing things that are seen by others, both inside of and outside of the law firm. And you may need to promote yourself in a selfless ways. You need to be viewed as a contributor, someone that's contributing to the discussion about your practice area by writing and speaking and joining committees and doing everything. This is another thing too. So a lot of the most successful attorneys will do things like join hospital boards or do things that don't seem in any way related to the practice of law. But when those hospitals have cases, they may be seen as someone to give the work to, or when people on those boards that often are powerful see things because the person's contributing to the board that has nothing to do with practicing law, they will be hired. Look at the resumes of very powerful attorneys. You'll often see that sort of thing. You'll also see them doing speaking engagements and all sorts of stuff because they want to be seen. And that means really getting out there and being seen. I have talked to this just incredible attorney that I met. He had I think he's got like a $40 million book of business now. And when he was an associate, he did basically did when he got maybe a fifth or sixth year associate, he would spend 2,000 hours billing his, the work for the firm. And then he said, I'm going to spend just as much time meeting with companies and giving them free advice and going out and meeting with them and connecting them with other people that can help them. So he did that and developed this huge book of business. He didn't start out as going out and saying, I'm meeting you to give me business. He said, maybe I can help you with some advice and I won't charge you for anything for it. I'm very good at my job. I'm not a partner or anything, but I'd love to see if I can help you with some advice and things that could save you money. And he started doing that when he was an associate. He found companies to talk to and people to network with because he wanted to succeed. And now, makes an incredible amount of money. I mean, I think his base is like $8 million at the firm, or $8 or $9 million. He's guaranteed to get paid. When I was practicing law, I remember I was working on this large environmental case, and there were a lot of firms. It was a class action, and there was this one attorney that was he was at a really good firm. And out of all these firms, I mean, all these major firms in Los Angeles, I mean, I would say there were like 20 am law firms on this case. This particular guy would find articles about things that were relevant or cases, and then he would mail all of this stuff out to people with a handwritten note that said, I enjoyed meeting you at this hearing or whatever, and I thought you might appreciate this case, with a nice note. And he would do that with all of his, all the people on the firm. And he was going out of his way to do this, and no one else was. And think about that, just connecting with other attorneys, just having something in common with them that you can do, sending them things that could help them with their clients and cases. And I always felt good about this guy because no one else was doing this sort of stuff. I felt like he wanted to have a relationship by doing this, and then he was helping, and he seemed genuinely interested in the subject matter, and just wasn't getting anything in return for doing this. And years later, I got, I started this legal placement company, BCG, and out of the hundreds of jobs I saw each week from different firms and stuff, when I saw a position for a partner in a law firm doing that type of work, I thought of him. He was the first person I thought of, and I called him up and ended up getting him a position at an even better firm. I spoke to him, called him, and when I promoted him to firms, I talked about what he did on this and that, and firms were impressed with him. Many already knew him, And this never would have happened had he not promoted himself so well. So he was the first person I thought of. And when I thought of him, I had all these great things to say. And so firms were interested in him. I had another attorney who was a partner in a major law firm, and he didn't really enjoy being a partner very much anymore. He just didn't like the pressure of hours, the pressure of all this different stuff that a lot of partners don't like. But yeah, this particular partner, she was very active in the local bar association. I think she was president of it in the LA bar. She was an incredible networker. She volunteered various legal organizations that had nothing to do, necessarily, you know, uh, with her practice area. But she took her work in the firm she was at very, very seriously. But she didn't like the politics and felt like something else would be more appropriate for her. One day, someone from the local bar association called her and asked her if she'd like to be a judge. She'd impressed so many people from the bar association that she was quickly nominated and got into a role that normally would take a couple of years, but got into this judgeship very, very quickly. She was referable and out there promoting herself. And then then after 5 or 6 years of doing this, she became the head judge of all of LA County. And it's a very, very good honor and something that is very hard to do. And she did the same thing in the next job because she'd been out there promoting herself. And then she ended up getting a job that was much more suited to her and the kind of work she wanted to do. So people want to hire, they want to refer, and they want to work with people who are visible in the legal community, that take their work seriously, that are promoting themselves. And you get positions and you're hireable when you're seen and you're out there. So just think about what you're doing. Are you out there promoting yourself? Are you out there being seen? Are you out there doing things? I had this case once. It was about I was suing somebody over what's called an option agreement and real estate, where I kind of got the bad end of the deal. And I was suing, and I was looking for someone to help me. And I only found one article when I searched for anybody that was in Los Angeles to help me, that not in Los Angeles, in California, that had said anything about this particular type of transaction. He'd just written a short article, maybe 500 words about this, but he had basically concluded that I could whatever his position was the position I needed. And so I called him, and he flew down to Los Angeles, and I hired him because he was the only person I found that had said anything about this. So are you writing articles about the things that you do? Are you trying to be seen? So you write a bunch of articles about your practice area and what you're doing, and it goes on the firm website, and people search for people to do that type of thing, and you have articles and things floating out around there, then you're promoting yourself. Are you meeting with people that aren't even clients right now and promoting yourself? Are you doing things like telling people you're an attorney when you go to the dry cleaner, the grocery store, and giving out your card? I've seen people get business doing that. It's just incredible. Like, you can promote yourself that way. I had this one thing happen where I was doing asphalt seal coating, which is essentially putting sealant on someone's driveway. And he was a partner in a law firm in Detroit named Dickinson Wright. And I was a kid, literally a kid that was like 19 years old and doing, no, was I 19? Yeah, I would think I was about 19 or 20 and doing work for this guy. And he asked me if I was incorporated, and I said no. And he said, you should become incorporated to protect yourself in case something bad happens. And so he sent me a bunch of legal forms and said, I know you don't know how to do this, but this is where you fill things out and put like little I don't know, post-it notes and things where I need to fill things out. And he did all this selflessly. And then the next year he contacted me and said, don't forget, you need to renew this year. And he kept, and he'd call me and say, I don't have your address. Where are you? And he kept doing that, and literally was helping someone that he had no prospect of giving him business at the time. Maybe he thought my business would grow, but he was helping me. And then years later, I had something happen where someone needed a corporate attorney in Detroit, and he was the only person I thought of, and I referred, a decent size matter to him. And think about that, just because he was someone that was promoting himself a little bit. So you need to be promoting yourself really to everyone you can. You meet people and you don't know who they are and how they can refer work to you. But if they see you, then you're going to get hired. How did you find me? Did you read articles I wrote? Have you watched these presentations before? I'm promoting myself. You need to promote yourself. This is one of the most important things you can do. Another thing you need to do is you never want to talk negatively about your job, the firm you're at, the type of work you're doing, or anything associated with the practice of law. You don't want to talk negatively. You don't. Do you want to be seen as someone that's negative and on the way out and doesn't like clients or doesn't like your work or doesn't like your firm? This is a huge mistake that people make. Lots of people make this mistake. They talk negatively about their coworkers. You talk negatively about someone that's in a staffing role, even like your secretary, some paralegal or whatever. All of a sudden, you've made enemies, and those people are out to get you and find mistakes. You're rude to the receptionist. They will talk about you and say that they will not promote you. I know firms where they interview someone and then they go and they actually have the receptionist fill out an evaluation, or they ask the receptionist how the person acted when they came in. They want to see people that are positive and nice to others. If you talk negatively about your coworkers, those people are going to be your enemies. They're going to look for you to make mistakes. If you talk negatively about your job, then you're going to be seen as someone that's on the way out and they don't want to give you important work or introduce you to important clients. If you're talking negatively about anything or on the side of negativity, people are going to refer that you're not referable. They don't want to refer work to people that don't like their job, that don't like their coworkers, and are making issues. If you put your head down, you don't get involved in conflict. You talk negatively about others and you don't find fault, you find positives. Other people are going to respect you and be much more likely to refer work to you. That's who you would want to refer work to. And again, there's nothing wrong with not liking your firm. There's nothing wrong with not liking the work you're doing there. But once you start complaining about any of this stuff publicly, to friends, to other attorneys, to people outside the firm, you begin defining yourself as someone who's unhappy and work shouldn't be referred to. An interesting thing happens, by the way. I mean, you're getting a lot of advice today that I think is very, very valuable. And I understand that I've been talking a lot and and I'll work through these slides, but I'm really trying to help you today to become the absolute best attorney you can be and to have a really good career, not to make these mistakes that people make that are serious. So you go into a job interview. So you go into a job interview, and usually there's going to be a reason you're looking for a job. You could be on the wrong side of politics. You could be getting pushed out. The firm could not have a lot of work. So you never want to say anything negative about your firm. People will say negative things, or they'll do that, and that will automatically get them disqualified. The reason it gets them disqualified for jobs is because when you talk negatively about your firm, they know that you're likely to go somewhere else and talk negatively as well. So what do you do? Like, how do you position yourself as someone that's not talking and could seem as someone that's positive? You go into an interview and you say, I am so grateful for all the training and work that I've been given at this firm. I respect them. They've given me a very good opportunity. It's just been a really good experience. The only issue that I have is I would like to work on larger matters, or the firm may not have enough work and I'd like to stay busy. I want to go someplace where there's a lot of work. You just talk very, very positively about your firm. You say how much you appreciate them. You say that there's some really good attorneys there, but they're just not bringing in enough work, or and you talking about that, and you don't say anything negative about personalities. You frame everything as someone that's moving up, and no one wants to refer work to someone who seems unhappy all the time. No one wants to hire someone that's going to say negative things about their firm, and no one wants to encourage someone to hire you either if you left with a negative reputation. So there's nothing wrong with being unhappy and wanting to change firms, but you either need to fix it where you're at, or you need to move to a place where you're happy. But you negative, don't want to say anything negative. I've hired so many recruiters and people in the past and made so many mistakes. And one thing that I've noticed is with people is their past tends to repeat themselves, meaning how long they stayed, their last job tends to repeat itself. People that were fired from jobs tend to be act a certain way. The first two people I hired as recruiters and started at the company, one of them had been at her past employer for 16 years, and then the other had been there for 6. The first one that I hired ended up staying there, stayed at the company for 18 years, while the other stayed for 9, meaning that all these people, stayed there and despite, turnovers of lots of people, but these people managed to stay there, never complained, always found out how to make things work. And they did very well, mainly because they were committed. The market rewarded their positivity and excitement about this job. They found a way to enjoy it. They found a way to stay, and did it. Other recruiters would ask them for help. I would give them priority when people came in and refer people to them because I knew they would not do a good job. And in contrast, I would hire people that were negative, and those people that were negative weren't able to inspire candidates. They weren't able to give people hope, and other people avoided them. And so when you're positive about your profession and colleagues, it can make a huge difference. One other thing that I noticed, and it was very enlightening, is then I would always have candidates that had been fired from their jobs and were unemployed. And I would think about these people and I would say, and hire them because I thought, well, they were at this good firm, they could relate to the candidates. And these people, when they got to the company, would always start and seem positive for a short period of time, but then become very negative. And when they became negative, they would become negative of me, or then they would say negative things about other recruiters in the firm, and weren't positive presence in the company, and usually left. And sometimes they left and tried to take other recruiters with them and things, and were just very negative. And so I noticed that happened, that people that, had been fired from their last jobs were often probably fired because of how negative they were. And then, one of the things that you need to do is also, sometimes you'll be at firms and they will work against you. And, I was talking, not too long ago with a senior associate that was worried about his ability to advance his position. He was in a position in his firm in a practice area where the firm was losing work, meaning that they weren't getting as much work from their clients. And it was a branch office of a large New York law firm and Los Angeles, I think. And the firm hadn't made a partner in something like 20 years in that office. And he went on a performance review, and they told him that even though he was doing really, really good work, they were going to offer him a counsel position where there wasn't a lot of potential to move up, and not a partner position. He'd been promised a partnership job the previous year. He'd worked incredibly hard that year, and the law firm had told him that he was on track to make partner, and then they gave him an explanation that they weren't going to make him partner. And they told him that the reason they weren't making him partner is because he'd been asked to do some work for a partner over the weekend, like 5 years ago, and said he was too busy on another matter to do it. And the firm said this was a dark patch in his history that was preventing him from getting a partnership because the person that he hadn't done the work for was mad at him. And he was at the time prepared and doing a very, very important motion for another client that was due in a few days. He explained this to the partners, and they just kind of looked at him with no expression, just saying this is the reason to justify it. So this is ridiculous. And this sort of thing can happen in firms that you're at. If firms say one thing and do another, then that can be a good reason for you to leave, and you may be in that situation. That's an example of a firm that is working against them. If you're at a firm with lots of business and opportunity, they don't need to make up ridiculous excuses for not advancing you or letting people go. So if you're in a situation where you feel like something that could be happening, these firms are basically just covering up their inadequacies. Any firm that has enough work, that you're doing a good job and is making excuses like that, then is not a place that you should be at. If the firm doesn't have enough work to support you, and you're not going to be advanced, then you need to leave. And you could be at firms where just ridiculous things can happen, where you can get into trouble for doing ridiculous things, where they can start painting you in a negative light that you think is not recoverable, where you see other senior associates and things that are doing incredible work and seem very indispensable, losing their jobs. Those are dangerous firms to be at and not places you should be. I had one woman not too long ago. She's actually a famous attorney now. Her name is Harmeet Dillon, and I was working with her years ago. She's in San Francisco, but she's a contributor on Fox, or I think Fox News all the time, and interviewed on CNN for her Republican beliefs and things, which is pretty rare for people in San Francisco. But she was at a firm, and I was working with her, and it was a very good firm. And she had been doing this sort of thing where she was working 2,500 hours a year and was a go-to person for their clients and everything. And she was promised a partnership, and she came up to be partner. They didn't make her partner, and I don't know if they asked her to leave, or she left, but on her own. I don't remember, but it was this very dramatic thing that one day they told her that this wasn't going to happen for her, and either they let her go or she quit that same day. And just because she realized that that place wasn't a good place for her, maybe they let her go because that happened. But I don't remember what happened exactly, but just literally left within one day of that happening. And if I was an associate and I saw something like that, I would think to myself, like, this is a freaking dangerous place. This firm could be working against me. And this is not something that I want to be involved in. So you need to leave when a firm is working against you. The other thing you need to know is that the best attorneys, meaning partners in the largest law firms with the largest books of business, will talk to and keep in touch with recruiters, regardless of their situation. Every attorney should, if a recruiter will talk to you, then you should always be in touch with people and top of mind, not just because you're interested in moving now, but it doesn't mean you'll be interested in moving later. So I have partners in large law firms, associates in law firms at all sizes that come to me and want to talk to me and try to, get information and things. And they do that just because they're networking. They network with as many people as they can because they want to be top of mind. Recruiters are often people you can do that with, but you need to stay in touch with people and know the market. You should also be, by the way, monitoring different job sites and things for jobs because you want to know kind of what's going out there. And I had something happen it was kind of funny years ago. It was one of the most successful corporate attorneys in Los Angeles. And he somehow was signed up for job alerts on BCG and received an email. And we, of course, will promote BCG by sending people job alerts and so forth. And this guy called me. It was early in the morning, like at 7. I was at my desk. And he said, "Did you mean to send me this?" And I said, "Yes." And then he said he enjoyed reading my articles. And he said, I was the only attorney recruiter because he had this huge book of business. It was like, I don't know, 20, 30 million. He said, every legal recruiter in Los Angeles has practically called me. Why haven't you called me? And I told him I was busy and that the best people in every profession typically have more work than they can handle. And I asked him if he'd cold called any potential clients in the past year, and he said he hadn't. And then I asked him if I called him with opportunities, and every few months if I learned about everything. And he said that other recruiters were always calling him and telling him about opportunities. And I spoke with him for over an hour. And I realized that he was actually very interested in moving firms. So I used my introduction to him to start referring people to him that were looking for jobs because he, reached out and talked to me. And this sort of networking is useful. I mean, you should be networking with people in the legal industry that can help you, whether or not they're recruiters or other people. You want to know what's going on. You want to get in front of people so they have top of mind awareness about something that most of the best attorneys do. And I've seen attorneys, very good attorneys, doing that with me. They will call up and just talk to me about questions, and I'm like, wow, this person is just calling me for questions and networking, and it's very interesting. So you should always know about what's going on in the market. You should have as many tentacles out there as you can. And by the way, if you're employed somewhere and mildly unhappy or think you might want to move at some point, there is nothing wrong with applying for jobs and talking to people and just saying, I'm not sure I'm in the market right now. I appreciate the interview, but just networking with people, even applying for jobs, is networking. Reading articles, watching presentations like this is networking and learning. You need to be out there in the legal market, doing whatever you can to network and to get on people's radar. I mean, you do it by talking to recruiters. You do it by applying for jobs and interviewing, and being on people's radars. If you think you might want to do that, and and I actually didn't call this partner about it. It was this huge book of business. And about 6 months after I spoke to him, I read that he'd moved with about 10 attorneys in his firm he'd moved from a big firm, Proskauer, to Kirkland and Ellis in Los Angeles. And this would have been a huge legal firm, a placement firm. It would have been like a $1 million fee. And but I didn't stay in touch with him, and it would have been a really smart thing to do. I could have made this huge fee, but this attorney most likely learned of a better opportunity from another recruiter that stayed in touch with him and had top of mind awareness. I should have been in contact with him and talking to him, probably going out to eat with him and so forth to make that connection. Should have, but I didn't. So there's nothing wrong for you going out in an interview if a recruiter contacts you, just to go out and network, because you will meet people and those people will think about you even if they don't hire you. If you're 100% sure you're not where you are at the moment, I recommend to everyone, and I know this is probably counterintuitive, but going out in interviews to see if something is a better opportunity. Maybe it pays a lot more. Maybe networking, maybe you'll get better work. Maybe you'll be at a place where there's the potential to have a lot more opportunity. All these things can be very helpful for you. And every year I work with what happens a lot of times with senior associates. So a senior associate will be like at the 10-year mark or something, or the 8-year mark, and they're told they'll be up for partner the following year. And I will get calls and talk to people at least once every couple of weeks. So these senior associates that want the opportunity, in case they don't make partner, to get out there and meet people at different law firms. So they will apply for jobs. Sometimes they will ask me just to try to introduce them to firms that they might be interested in working. And because they realize this could be an arbitrary decision, sometimes they'll even interview at firms and become partners because of their experience, just because of doing that. And so they're being smart. And these are people, at the biggest firms, Skadden, whatever, big firms. And they will do this because they're just trying to be smart and get in touch with people. And they also want to be in a position where, maybe they find if they're going to be a partner at a law firm and stay the rest of their career, that's a better thing to do. So nothing wrong with talking to other people. Sometimes they will even use these offers. They'll get offers and use those, saying, I got this partnership offer at another firm, and then get an offer at their firm, which is better. So, and maybe other people, when they meet them, aren't offering them as good of opportunities, so they'll be even more committed. All these things can happen. Sometimes they'll get offers that are left open that they can go to. So, these are just smart things. Stay in touch with legal recruiters, apply for jobs. You need to sign up for job alerts really at any potential service that you can use, whether it's Indeed or LinkedIn or Law Crossing, anybody that has legal jobs that could be of interest to you. Because what you need to understand as an attorney is you're essentially a product. So everybody's a product, meaning you're something that has value. You're a product of a certain type of strength or weakness. And you need to understand, where is that product marketable to? Who is going to hire me? sometimes, you'll apply for all these jobs and won't get an interview. And many times, the reason you're not getting an interview is because you haven't taken the time to perfect your resume, which you can do by watching webinars that I've done on resumes, articles I've written on resumes. There's books I've written on resumes on BCG. There's all sorts of resume resources and things that you can use to fix your resume. Sometimes you're just not getting interviews because your resume is all screwed up. You may be applying for one job in a practice area and talk about 5 different practice areas instead of one practice area in your resume. Or you may have all these things in your resumes that will turn people off, like political affiliations or things about, that are promoting some sort of cause on your resume that could turn people off, or some sort of identity politics. I mean, you need to understand how to perfect your resume, and you also need to understand your marketability. So if you're applying to a lot of firms and not getting interviews, maybe you need to really apply yourself at your current firm. But not getting interviews could just be an issue of your resume. There's all sorts of things, but you always need to understand your marketability. You need to see where the jobs are and how many opportunities are available in the market, and whether or not there are better jobs out there. I was talking to an attorney this morning. Capital markets right now in New York is a very, very active practice area. It certainly wasn't a few years ago, but now it is. So this particular attorney is marketable. If he tried to apply to jobs a year or so ago, he wouldn't have been marketable. So, or 2 years ago. So understanding if you're marketable, understanding if there's better jobs, seeing the jobs that are in different practice areas. Law Crossing is the site that I own, but what it does is it goes to every law firm website, every company website that it can find, every government office and public interest, and it takes the jobs off those websites and it puts them on Law Crossing. The majority of those jobs, it's going to have jobs that are in LinkedIn and Indeed and stuff, but we'll also have positions that are from law firm websites that aren't advertised. So that will show you all the law firm positions around the country in different sources. It's very cheap to sign up. It's like $25 a month and you can do a trial, but it's smart. I mean, will help you monitor the market, just like Indeed and LinkedIn will, but it will show you things that aren't advertised. So understanding what's out there. There's a huge legal market out there, and you need to be aware of all the positions. Frankly, a lot of in-house companies and governments and law schools don't use recruiters, so you're not going to get everything through there. Now, most actually small regional law firms will use recruiters if a good candidate shows up. So there's not, that's not typically something that happens. If you are marketable, they will hire you. I mean, there's certain practice areas right now, like trust and estates, where a solo practitioner will use a recruiter. They don't care, but others don't. So public interest organizations, for example, won't use recruiters. So you need to, monitor all those sites, and you can't expect to get jobs through recruiters for most in-house jobs. Most in-house jobs don't use recruiters because they're impossible for recruiters to find. There's not a lot of them. So Law Crossing can help you, but any site, whether it's Indeed or some site for your practice area or association that might have jobs, can help you, but you need to know what's in the market. Someone that's buying stocks or something will always look at the market. Someone that has a stock is always going to look at the market and see, is my stock going down or is my stock going up? If they're buying a stock, is the stock going down or is it going up? You need to monitor the market because you're a product and a product has value. And where is your product marketable? Your product might not be marketable in Columbus, Ohio, but it certainly might be marketable in Cincinnati or Chicago. So where is your product marketable? You need to know where your product's marketable. This is like the most basic thing that you should be doing. You should be going, by the way, to trying to work in geographic areas where your product's marketable. Why would you try to sell ice to Eskimos? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. So sometimes you need to move markets and be in a place where you're marketable and know where the opportunities are. Very, very important. The other thing is that I would say is this is very important when you're looking for a job. You should be contacting, whether or not you do it on your own, whether or not you use a service, you should always be contacting law firms and employers without openings to network and to see if they have jobs. Law Crossing has this thing, where it's posting jobs regardless of whether the employers are paying, but it also has something called Law Crossing Archives, where you can look at old jobs that law firms have had and apply to those. But you really want to make sure that you're applying to firms even without openings. And you can also do that You can apply to firms without openings just by going to their website and applying to them. Why not? I mean, you should never be afraid to do that. So many people, it's just so dumb. Like, and I'm sorry, but no one's taught them this. Like, say you're in, I don't know, Grand Rapids, Michigan, and you're a corporate attorney. Are you going to go onto Indeed and LinkedIn and maybe Law Crossing and see if there's any corporate jobs? And maybe that market's small enough that there are no corporate jobs. So the only way you would get a corporate job is if you did a lot of the things I've talked to you about networking and so forth, and become referable and have people know about you. But if you don't do that, why wouldn't you be contacting just all the firms in Grand Rapids that have corporate practices and expressing interest in them? So instead of going to a website, not seeing any jobs and thinking you need to be unemployed, why wouldn't you contact all the firms that do that sort of work and see if they will hire you? I will tell you, this is statistic that's going to shock you. Over 50% of the placements that I make at BCG are with firms that don't have openings. I target the person's resume to a firm without openings. And when I do that, they see the person and they see we can use this product. We have a need for them. We can make money off them, and they hire them. So law firms are businesses. And if someone comes along that they can make money from and they have enough work for, they will hire you even without a business. This one piece of advice, by the way, if you're looking for a job, will change the direction of your job search. If you are ever unemployed, this will change the direction of your job search. I'll tell you something that I thought was absolutely just fascinating. This is a very interesting story. So I had a woman in Delaware that was a litigation attorney at a big firm. I think it was Richard Layton and Finger, which is probably the most well-regarded firm in Delaware that's based in Delaware. And she was a litigator. And after 1 year, she lost her job. And I don't know why she lost her job, and if she was fired or she quit, I don't even remember. But she lost her job, and she realized that there are a lot of, because Delaware is a place where a lot of companies incorporate. So she realized, being in Delaware, that there were a lot of companies that were, around the country, and law firms had a lot of clients around the country that needed people to help with various filings and so forth in Delaware. And she didn't even do corporate related work. She did litigation, but she decided that she could help law firms with this stuff because she was licensed in Delaware. So she went and cold emailed hundreds of law firms all around the country, in Arizona and Nevada and Washington State, saying that she was a attorney in Delaware and could help them with this sort of work. After 1 year of doing this, she grossed, just from starting cold, her little law firm of just her grossed over $400,000, which is just absolutely phenomenal. Suddenly, she's making more money and has a better career, than anybody that was her age, probably working in Delaware. And then she had all this work, and she decided that she wanted to go work for a big law firm. She'd never, as a corporate attorney, she didn't have any experience other than being self-taught in corporate law and the type of corporate law she was doing in Delaware. I got her a position at a major law firm in the Midwest that she probably never would have been able to get hired from had she stayed a litigator, had she not learned how to go out and get all this business. She got a job at a major law firm, didn't pay as much, but a very, very prestigious law firm that she probably couldn't have gotten a job with otherwise, because she cold contacted all these firms, basically saying, I can do this sort of work. I have a guy right now that's in New York. He's 60 years old, and he's works in something called employee benefits and ERISA. And he does all this sort of work. And he is 60 years old, but has been doing this work for, I guess, for 35 years. And I'm going to send him to firms all over the country saying he's available to help you out with this work, and he will get jobs. I will get him jobs working remotely. This is a federal practice area, so he can work anywhere. And if you are in a federal practice area, which would be like patent and trademark, what else? I mean, ERISA, there's a bunch of them I'm not thinking of right now. You can apply to firms all over the country. Why wouldn't you? You can apply to work there remotely instead of just locally. I have patent attorneys working all over the country for firms on a remote basis, and you can do the same thing. Law firms will hire people in different areas, all the time. Just kind of an aside. During the 2008 recession, which is 2009 recession, which was very bad, law firms were laying off all these people in different practice areas. So, like, they might have laid off 30 people in their corporate department, but then they have a need for 5 litigators. So just as people are walking out with boxes, people are walking in. So it's just that, that's how it can kind of work. So I've spent a lot of time talking to you today. I think if you understood everything I'm saying, I hope this is probably the most important presentation you've ever watched for your career. It can help you. And I want to just make you understand that all these people that have been able to find work have taken these actions. It's not that difficult. Even one of these things, like aligning yourself with a powerful partner, it could change your entire career, making yourself referable. When you do good work in your existing law firm for other associates, you become referable. Those people become general counsels. They go to other firms where they might have the sway to hire you. They become partners in other firms and need people. All these things can help you. And in addition, you always need to be networking. You need to get your name out there. You need to be seen. You need to learn about jobs. You need to approach employers without jobs to, if you're looking for a job, or even just to network. And these guidelines can really help you have a job and have business and all these different things, is what I want for you. And this particular presentation, I've talked to people about like one of these issues before, and it's changed the direction of your career. But all these issues you've learned about today can really, really help you. And I hope I have helped you today, because I really want you to succeed. And I don't care, by the way, where you went to law school. I don't care what your status is in your career right now, if you're succeeding or not, or you've been fired, or you've had, you're 20 years out and have had all these failures. You can turn this around. Anybody can, by following these guidelines, and you can do very, very well in your next position, and you can have an incredible career. Some of the most successful attorneys that I know are personal injury attorneys. How do personal injury attorneys get work? Sometimes they just get their name out there and put their picture on buses and get work that way. And why are people hiring them? They're hiring them because they're seen. Sometimes they'll put billboards all over Los Angeles, and be seen. And they might not even be, personal injury, probably 85 to 90% of the cases settle. So the only game is bringing in the personal injury attorney and filing a lawsuit and then settling it. Being in the client. So they're seen. They develop these incredible businesses with sometimes without even any experience, but they're out there getting seen, and they're doing things for people to see them. And so that's so important, like being seen. And then even the best personal injury attorneys are not just being seen, they're getting referrals from other personal injury attorneys. It's that way with DUI attorneys. I mean, whatever practice area you can possibly think of. You do a really good job if you're doing a DUI, and you do a really good job for some drunk person that, gives you a case and you charge $5,000, they may refer their other drunk friends for you for forever. I mean, it's because people are drinking and getting DUIs. I mean, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how sophisticated, how important your practice area you may think is. It doesn't matter. If you're seen, you will get jobs. If you're referable, people will give you business. So you can start from zero and start your own practice. You can do all these things, but you really need to make sure, I hope you follow my advice today, because I want you to really have a good career no matter what you do. All this networking, all this writing, all this, anything you can do to be seen and referable is going to make a difference, because almost all attorneys aren't doing this. I want to make one final observation before we close, and then we will take a quick break and take questions. But a lot of people, when they go to work somewhere, and I don't understand why they think of this so much, they look at only salaries. Like they think, oh, this firm's paying me $15,000 more. This firm's doing this. They only think about salaries, and salaries are just not the most important thing. The most important thing is, are there people there that can help me? Is this work that I can do that's specialized that will make me more employable? Is this a job where where I'm going to be able to develop clients, all these sorts of things. Am I going to get really good training? All these sorts of things. I had this woman just this week that had this offer from this firm doing extremely sophisticated estate planning for ultra high worth individuals, setting up all of these offshore trusts in the Cook Islands and everything. And she would have had the skill that very few trust and estates attorneys have in the world. And she had this offer from this really good firm in Orange County that had a specialization in it. She would have learned how to do this. The firm had a lot of different really good trust and estates people there, but she had an offer for a firm that paid $15,000 a year more and required 100 hours less experience. And the job was like remote, and there's really no future in it. But she took the job that paid a little bit more because she thought that was important. And none of that's important. She would have got to work with a trust and estates attorney that was going to be ready to retire like in 10 years and would have given her all the work. So people take salaries into this more important. And your job as a young attorney is to position yourself with people that can advance you, or with firms that are going to give you that type of work. Your salary is not most important. I like to tell people that during their first 5 years of practice, the most important thing is to get training. Like, you don't know what you're doing as an attorney usually for the first 5 years. You're learning. So you should go someplace for the training, not for the salary. It doesn't matter how much you're making. Your career, if you're 25 when you start, is going to be another 50 years, like twice your lifetime. Attorneys practice in their 80s all the time. I know people that are practicing that are in their 90s. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago about a woman that was a accountant that was like 99. It was very funny, but your career can last a long time, and you need to get training when you're young and put yourself in the right position. So I hope everyone enjoyed this presentation. So what I will do right now is take a quick break just for like 1 or 2 minutes. And then that'll give everyone time to, if you want, write down questions. I will take as many questions as people have today. So, any question you ask, I will answer. I love answering questions. Your identity when you ask questions is, I won't, if you're logged into Zoom, I won't show your name or anything. So they're all confidential. And then you can certainly ask questions about this presentation or anything else that you have related to your career that I can help you with. So thank you, and I will be back in just 1 moment. Thanks. All right, well, the first thing I'd like to say is for everyone is I'm trying to get my camera. Okay, so first thing I'd like to say is just congratulate everyone for watching this presentation. I know it was a little bit long, but it's really trying to give everyone, really actionable advice and about what I've learned about people that actually succeed in this profession over the past 25 years. So I'm you should be very proud of yourself for spending all this time on this, because a lot of people out there in the legal profession, they think they know everything. And the only reason I can tell you these things is just because I've watched it, and I've watched it for so many attorneys. And so, watching these sort of things, I think is extremely helpful for you understanding kind of the things that you need to do in your career to succeed. But let me go. So I will not start from the top. I'll just kind of go to these questions randomly. I'm happy to see that there's a lot of questions, so we'll get through all of them. So if I don't get to yours right away, I will get. Okay. I've built a strong expertise in regulatory and enforcement matters, but I know firms prioritize attorneys who can bring in clients. What is the most effective way to demonstrate value to a firm if I don't have a book of business? Should I focus on highlighting my network, subject matter, or other factors? So I have a really good job for you. I don't know what your experience is, but this is my email address. So if you email me your resume, I may have something for you in Washington, D.C., depending on, your experience. But if you don't have a book of business, really, you don't have the ability typically to highlight a network very much. I mean, having, a network is good typically, but your subject matter expertise is really what people are going to be most interested in. So, I mean, you could have all sorts of regulatory experience. It could be doing airline regulatory experience. It could be environmental. It could be, whatever. So whatever your regulatory experience is, you should be trying to find firms that do that these days. And I'm going to show someone actually a really cool tool. Just see here, go to maybe, I don't know, there's all sorts of, there's ChatGPT, there's also X now. So if you go to X, let me just share the screen real quick with you, how you can find different sorts of positions. If you go to X and you go to Grok, which is pretty good, you could say, what are the top environmental law, or I would say, what are the top law firms that do environmental, this is, I don't know what kind you do, environmental regulatory work in Washington, D.C. So you could ask it to, and I don't know to get the best results from Grok, you have to check different ones, but here it's searching, and then it's giving you kind of all these different law firms to do that work. These are major law firms, but then you could also say, are there any boutiques that concentrate on environmental work, And then it's going to give you that answer. I probably forgot to put Washington, D.C. in there. Here's some more like Beveridge and Diamond. That's actually really good. Then you have Verdant Law, Van Ness and Feldman. Those are firms that I know as well. So you could do, search like that. You could do the same search on ChatGPT, and then you could do the same search on DeepSeek, which is the Chinese version of this. But then also you could do the same search on Google. So I'm showing you what I'm trying to show everyone today is how to target firms that are in your specialty. So you could ask Google the same thing. So you go to Google and ask the same question, and it's giving you can see very similar results you got there, even giving you bands. You go to Chambers and then BCG ranks them, you can see that, and then you can go through kind of all of these different law firms that you find when you look at things on Google, which is actually very interesting. So Stoll Reeves is one that they missed. They actually do have an extremely good environmental firm practice. So if you're any type of attorney that you can search Google for firms that do it. So you can search, I'll just write these down, search Google. Google's usually going to give you better results in a lot of respects because it'll enable you to go to their webpage. If you can search Google, you can search Grok. You just need an X account. So get an X account. If you don't have one, X account and search Grok, use Grok. And then should apply to everybody. So I'm just DeepSeek. And then what is the other one I mentioned? DeepSeek. And then should give me a second here. Oh, and then ChatGPT. So you can use those to find different things that do regulatory and enforcement matters. Typically, if you have a specialty in something like that, you're going to be anybody that does any type of practice area like that. You're going to be most marketable to boutique firms because larger firms have sort of the up or out thing. So firms have up or out usually, which means that senior associates are not marketable, senior attorneys not marketable without business. So I get people. I just got a woman, a good position. I just got someone a really good position in Chicago. She was an environmental attorney with the EPA, and we found a boutique for her. She would not have been marketable to larger firms because she had too much experience. So you always want to try to find boutique firms. And then, the other thing I just wanted to bring up too, real quickly, that's very interesting. So if you are, and I'm just going to put up another screen here real quickly. And this is for people in different practice areas. So I just want to give you a little insight into different practice areas. So if you are doing any type of practice area that is related to federal law, so let me just see where the practice area is here. Yeah, so any practice area related to federal law. So that would probably be, it could be alcohol and beverage law, not so much antitrust, but it is kind of related to family law, things to do with, what's some other ones here? You have federal law, ERISA's federal law, food and drug laws, federal law, immigration's federal law, patent law, trademark is federal law. What else you got here? None of the litigation is federal law. And then you have trust and estates is federal law, and telecommunications is federal law, and tax can be federal law. So if you're in any practice area that involves federal law, you can literally apply all of the countries, do remote work, whatever, because you're not going to need the bar to do that. So law firms hire people to do federal law all the time. So that would be if you're in some kind of federal related work to do with doing some sort of federal work, then you can apply over the country. But anybody that's a senior person doing something, you should try to find boutiques and you will demonstrate value. Boutiques will typically hire subject matter specialists in their practice areas. And a lot of times because they're boutiques, they have a lot of work in that practice area and can hire senior people. What if the law firm is not a good place to work? You mentioned before, and Ulysses Associates is labor for 2 years, should not talk about the firm firm in a negative way, even when asked by other job applicants about the firm. No, you never say anything negative, especially if you're the face of the firm and they're interviewing people. And if the law firm seems to show people as associates as labor for 2 years, that may be the case, but most law firms, want people that are going to make them money. So if you're billing a lot of hours and doing good work, they may want to keep you around. So you always want to be in a position where when you're looking for a job, you don't need to. And so if the firm does seem that negative, then you end up leaving. I mean, there are some firms that, just drastically underpay people. There's some firms where there's no upward mobility because of the amount of work the partners have or whatever, or how much they're billing their clients. So yes, I mean, you should not talk about your firm negatively to anyone, even, people necessarily. Okay, in-house roles are often viewed as a more suitable alternative to law firm jobs. How can attorneys avoid becoming too specialized in one industry, making one industry difficult? So I would tell everyone that's considering an in-house job that in-house roles are not more stable than law firm jobs. Problem with in-house roles is you don't hear about law firms going out of business very often because all they're doing is selling their billable hours, and there's not really a lot of overhead in the office. But in-house companies go out of business all the time. Companies, if you think about it, just read the news, go out of business all the time. So, that's a very dangerous place to work. In-house roles are often very dangerous because when a new CEO comes in, they often want to bring their own legal department over from where they've worked before because they're comfortable with them, and they will eliminate the existing legal department. The other thing with in-house roles that makes them very dangerous is if a new GC comes in, a new general counsel, and you're not general counsel, they often want to bring in their own people that are loyal to them and help them do things a certain way. So they're very risky for that reason. In-house roles are often also very dangerous because unlike a law firm where you're sitting down and billing hours and making the firm money just by billing hours, in-house roles can often be viewed as a cost center, meaning the company is paying money to you and maybe they can eliminate your role and save money. So you read about companies having layoffs all the time. Imagine if you were an in-house attorney at Twitter when Elon Musk took it over, and what do you think would happen there? Being an attorney in the government now with Doge and things, we're eliminating. I mean, that's not an in-house job, but it's working not in a law firm. So anything that you can be a cost center and eliminate it is very, very dangerous. The other problem with in-house roles is once you lose them, it's very, very difficult to get another in-house job. Most in-house jobs like hiring people directly from law firms because they have skills in their practice area and they're already doing it, and they don't have to pay the attorney in a law firm a lot of money. What happens with a lot of people when they go in-house is they become experts in giving work to law firms instead of doing the work themselves. So companies know that, and they like to hire younger people. But just think about how hard it is to get an in-house job, and imagine getting that job when you're not in a law firm. If you do work in a law firm, you have the opportunity to build business, to align yourself with powerful people that can give you work for your entire career, that you can move with, to stay employed till the time as long as you want to practice law, you can be employed. Whereas if you're an in-house role, you're going to have to retire at some point, and the odds are not good that you'll be able to stay there for a long time. So I don't recommend in-house for a lot of people. I mean, there are certainly good in-house jobs, but I would say that they're very risky. I had an attorney not too long ago. He was at a big firm in New York, and he got a job for an in-house company in Durango, Colorado. The first thing he did when he got there is he bought a house, put his kids in school, and then he was there for like 2 months, and the company went out of business. I mean, it's just in-house jobs, and then he couldn't. What is he going to do? He's in Durango, Colorado. There's not a lot of jobs. He's got a house. I mean, it can be very, very dangerous. So, you need to be careful. You say, how can you avoid becoming too specialized in one industry? Being specialized is a good thing because law firms hire specialists. So, if you're specialized in something, like let's say you do, I don't know, real estate finance for apartment developers or something, like, that's a good specialty. So, if you get that specialty, I'm just saying hypothetically, for apartment developers, then there's not going to be a lot of people to do that. So if you're looking for a position, you're going to be like one of the only applicants that can do that. And that can be good. I did have a long conversation with someone this morning about specialists versus generalists. So it's a little bit of, I think it's a good topic just to touch on real quickly. So specialists versus generalists. So what happens in large markets, attorneys are specialists, typically specialists. And then in smaller markets, they're more generalists. So what does that mean? So what that means is, if you're working in New York City, you might be doing M&A for a healthcare company. Literally, that would be, your job. So you would have that kind of experience in a large New York law. If you're in, let me just write this down. If you're in, what would be another market? Kind of a small, I don't know. If you're in like Findlay, Ohio, I mean, Findlay, Ohio is probably a good channel. You could be doing M&A, corporate generalist, maybe a little private equity, maybe, I don't know. You'll be doing a bunch of different things for smaller companies. And the reason for that is because smaller markets, the clients typically don't have as much work because they're smaller companies, or if they're big companies in Findlay, Ohio, they'll send their most important work to New York. So people do send their most important work to large cities. The attorneys in the large cities can bill a lot of money because they have specialists that theoretically can be more efficient doing the work, because it takes less time for an M&A attorney that does healthcare companies and knows all the things that come up when that happens than an attorney in Findlay, Ohio, that may be a corporate generalist and doing M&A for all sorts of companies. So if you want to be a specialist, you're typically going to be much more specialized in larger markets and larger firms versus in smaller markets. So, when do you want to be a specialist versus a generalist? You're typically going to be more of a generalist in a smaller market or with smaller firms. And so you kind of have to make that choice. But I just to give you one further example, this is a good question. If you do real estate finance in Cleveland, just an example, the first year, maybe each year, maybe there's 5 first-year associates, I don't know, maybe more than 15 first-year associates that start, year one associates, year one, right out of school. But by year 5, there might be 6 fifth years, and at any one time, only one's looking for a job, maybe one looking for a job. So all that means is that if you are a specialist in a market like Cleveland, just as an example, if you're a 5th-year associate and there's only 5 or 6 of you left, and the law firm's seeking a 5th-year associate, there's only going to be one looking for a job. Your odds of getting that position are pretty good because you're the only applicant. So that's how you can think about being specialists in different markets. And the more specialized you are, often the better. And these are great questions. So thank you. Anybody that has, these are awesome questions. Okay, whether it's a bad departure from a firm, a disciplinary matter, or even an online controversy, how can an attorney repair their professional image and get hired again? Other proactive steps attorneys can take to build credibility and trust with potential employers. Okay, so yeah, people make mistakes. And bad things happen. If you are ever in a position where you sue a law firms will often be able to find that. So you need to be careful about suing law firms, just as a general piece of advice. Sometimes there are online controversies. So if there's an online controversy about you for whatever reason, you've done something wrong. I had a close friend of mine get a job in the U.S. Attorney's Office, and he'd been trying to get a job doing that for a long time, like for 10 years. He finally got one in Salt Lake City. He'd been on the job for like 3 weeks or something, and got a DUI. And it's a very low threshold to get a DUI in Utah, so he wasn't even drunk. But because he was a U.S. attorney, it was all over the papers. And anytime you search for his name, that article will come up. So what he did is he went and found a company that would build his reputation online. So all that stuff went down, and things like his Twitter account and Facebook page showed up first. And so those are things that you can do to eliminate negative articles and things about you. That's one thing. If you have something like that happen, if you've been disciplined by the bar, there's not really much you can do about that. Just have to give some sort of explanation. And then, you can, certainly repair your reputation, get hired again. The only thing that I would recommend is, that every attorney is marketable. It just depends where. So, it's harder to get jobs in large firms, in larger firms, and then easier, with smaller firms, and solos and things like that. So you can always get a job. I mean, someone is going to need you and hire you. And if it's hard for that person to find people, they're going to be interested in hiring you. I mean, you would be too. So that's what you need to kind of figure out, the size firm, and however serious your controversy is, if someone needs you and has the work, they're going to hire you because because law firms make business decisions. So a solo that has a hard time finding people isn't going to care as much about this stuff, or a smaller firm that is having a hard time finding people that a large firm would that doesn't. So, any type of controversy or things that are negative and stuff about you that would be difficult, you need to do whatever you can to try to find someone that will employ you, and then just not make the same mistakes twice. I had an attorney not too long ago that failed the bar twice and had done horrible work at a firm he was at, had horrible recommendations, but I found a solo that was having a hard time finding people and hired him, and for a good job. The solo had been a partner, I think, at Hogan and Hartson. I've had people that have had horrible scandals find jobs. I had a guy that it was actually a really sad story, but I'll just tell you this so you can understand what's possible for anybody if you've had a bad experience. I had a guy that was the head of a capital market securities practice at a big law firm, Los Angeles. He was so good at his job that he was asked to be a commissioner at the SEC in Washington, D.C., which is a big deal. It's a public, position. He became a commissioner, and however, I don't know, get sworn in or whatever, however that happens. And so he got to Washington, D.C. and met some woman and got married. There would normally be no problem with that, but he also had a wife and children back in Los Angeles. So the news of all this broke. It was in all over the papers and things, a big scandal. And he lost his job as a commissioner of the SEC, and then he had nothing to go back to in Los Angeles. So I met him. And this will tell you a little bit about marketing. This was before there were like a lot of online directories and things of recruiters. I'd posted this ad in like the National Law Journal for some recruiter listings or something. And for whatever reason, and I don't even know why I put it, I said I was a specialist in helping partners without business get jobs. I don't know why I put that there, but I had several partners contact me that read this, needing work. He was one of them. That's just an example that shows what happens when you put things out there. He came to meet me. He had been unemployed for 3 years. He was shaking. He'd been biting his lip because he was so nervous. So it was kind of all large and everything. And he hadn't been able to get a job. He told me how he lost his family, he lost his house and all this stuff. And he's just in really bad shape. So when I spoke to him, I didn't have anything for him. I was very confused. Like, what do you do with someone like this? And then one day I was reading the San Francisco Daily Journal, which is the newspaper for legal attorneys. For attorneys up north, San Francisco, the Bay Area. And I read this article by this person saying, I've never seen so much work in 25 years. We're buried. We have, associates working at desk in the halls and everything. And it was for like a kind of a boutique firm. And I sent him there, and they hired him almost immediately as a partner, and they hadn't even used recruiters. So they hired him, and they were like, do we even owe you any money? They didn't know what was going on. And anyway, so they hired him, and he got a job there as a partner. And then like 3 months after this happened, the firm was like absorbed by some, Kirkpatrick and Lockhart, which is no longer in existence. Some big firm, and he's actually still there. So you can always recover from whatever happens, to you, being anything, but it depends on the size firm. And I hope that helps, because it's kind of a piece of job search advice for everyone, that there's always something out there for you. If many attorneys seen their job roles change or even disappear due to automation and outsourcing, what steps going to take now to ensure I remain employable, even if the demand for my specific legal work increases? Yeah, so you're right. So right now, you can actually write briefs with ChatGPT and things. It can help with patent related work, can help with all those sorts of things. So I'm dealing with a lot of attorneys that are in that situation right now. And also, so all you need to do is just become an expert in whatever that automation or outsourcing or AI is, and then start being the expert at your firm and for clients, and just be the best person to save them money. And become like an expert in that. That's the big thing. Outsourcing has been happening in a lot of practice areas forever. It's been happening in immigration, where work is sent to people in the Philippines or wherever. It's been happening in patent law with, for over decades. So, work will always be outsourced, but you just need to be able to do it very well. There's still a demand for accountants in the United States. There's not enough accountants. And one of the reasons is because there's just not enough of them, I guess. And accounting has been being outsourced to the Philippines and so forth forever. So, or India. So there's always going to be demand for whatever you do. You just need to be, the best at what whatever it is you do and become an expert in how to outsource things. I mean, that's really the only choice. I mean, most of the time when big types of things happen, and I think AI is one of them right now, um, there are people that actually use that to get more work than others, and to become an expert in that and save companies money and to become the best at that type of work. So it shouldn't really hurt you. You should be someone that does better work than whatever is outsourced, and because people ultimately have relationships with the people doing the work, you just need to become better at all that. Okay, I have strong work experience and a solid track record, but I didn't attend a top 14 law school or start my career in big law. What are the best strategies for overcoming pedigree bias and improving my value to law firms? So just because you didn't attend a top 14 law school doesn't mean you're never going to work in a major law firm. All you need to do to get a job in a major law firm is become very, very good in whatever type of work the major law firm does. So you need to go into practice areas that major law firms do. So, and you need to get experience in those sorts of practice areas if you want to be able to get a job in a major law firm. So this is just an example for everyone that wants to get into a major law firm. You need to go and choose practice areas that are that major law firms or big law firms do, which would be, not consumer bankruptcy, but corporate bankruptcies. Sometimes firms do constructions. You can do transactional constructions. Any type of corporate, if you get experience in that, you have a chance of getting into a major law firm. The big ones, I guess, would be, corporate's a big one, finance is a big one, ERISA is a big one. What else? Healthcare is a big one. If you do healthcare transactional work, under insurance, if you do insurance coverage, not insurance defense, if you do labor and employment related work, but not plaintiff's work, what else have you got here? You got real estate. Most firms are real estate. Tax is hard, but even trust and estate, big firms do. But just getting experience, or in all forms of IP, any form of IP is something you can get a job in. So those are the practice areas where, if you get experience in them, you can get a job in a big firm. So you just need to be, look like the best candidate. I've seen some remarkable things in my career. There was there was a big demand for corporate attorneys in the year 2000, 1999 to probably, or 1998 even, until probably November of 2000. And people that were literally at like 4 or 5 person law firms doing a little bit of corporate work were getting these jobs at amazing firms in Silicon Valley and stuff. Like they would fly out there and they'd be like, I can't believe I'm interviewing with Paul Hastings and they're putting my wife and I up in the suite. Like, so it just depends on the practice area you're in and how much demand there is. So getting into a big firm practice area is the only way you're going to get into a big firm. And then just doing really, really well there. What I've seen a lot of people happen, is like, let's talk about this real quick. So bar failures. So sometimes, you'll have someone in California that will like 4 failures at the bar. And this is very common. It's a very hard bar. And they might even have gone to a top 10 law school or top 10 law school. And this happens all the time. I know it's hard to believe, but it does. So they 4 failures at the bar, then, they're unemployed. So they start, they start at a smaller firm, at a small firm that will have them, small firm, maybe 10 attorneys. And then they just, knock it out of the park. They just do really, really good work. They build up their resume. And then, then they might go to a, 25 attorney firm. And then after the 25 attorney firm, they might go to a 75 attorney firm, and then, pretty soon, year 8, they might be at a 1,000 attorney firm. So, you can always move to better and better firms, but you need to be experienced in the practice area that large law firms do. Otherwise, you're not going to get hired. But I don't really understand the importance of working in big law, really. It doesn't really matter where you're working because your ultimate goal is just to get training and get clients. So, career goal, it's pretty simple. Career goal to get, training, for, whatever, 5+ years, then, you can get clients. And that's it. So, that's it. So it doesn't matter. I'm actually working with someone right now. This is an interesting story. I'm working with a guy that got out of law school, and never worked in a law firm, and started his own law firm like 10 years ago, doing primarily litigation. Got a partner, built up the law firm to maybe 10 attorneys, then left his law firm with a partner and a couple of associates, and now is interviewing and probably going to get a job at a law firm in New Jersey that wants to open a New York office. And it's a big national firm, not it's national, and it's a big East Coast firm. So the point is that all this stuff is doable. You just need to put your head down and work. And this guy, the guy I'm talking about, built up a $3 million book of business. Got $3 million book. So, but the point is that all this stuff is possible. It doesn't matter where you start. You just need to do the absolute best you can, and you can get positions in large firms. I mean, it's not impossible to do, and anybody can. Okay, thanks again for the great talk. Seems some of today's talk involved building and sustaining relationships within firms in the legal space generally. Is there a book you'd recommend for further information on networking generally or business development? Okay, so there's presentations on BCG about how to develop business, but I'll give you one quick piece of advice about how to develop business, because it's a very good question. Like, how do you develop business? And so when I was a young attorney, there was an expert teaching people how to develop business, and he had this course you could buy. It was advertised in like the back of like legal newspapers and things. Back then there wasn't even CDs, I guess there was CDs, but he was old, so it was still coming out in cassettes. So you had to order the cassettes, and this is in the 90s when people were already using. We've been using CDs for years, but I ordered the course, and essentially what the course said, and I've heard this from a lot of people, there's other people that have kind of picked this up, is, you write down a list of 100 people that know that you could call and talk to. So anybody that you can call and talk to, and it could be your relatives, it could be people you went to law school with, it could be really anybody. You just write down a list of people you can talk to, and then you start checking in on them. You just call and see how things are going, and asking them about their lives and stuff, asking them about themselves, and that's it. You just call and ask these people about themselves, and they will ask you at some point how you're doing and what you're doing. That's it. That's all you do. So you call these people and you check in with them and ask them about themselves. That's it. So you write down, if you have 100 people, everyone knows 100 people. Maybe more than 100 people, but you just start calling these people, checking in and asking them about themselves. And obviously you probably want to start with people that are attorneys or own companies, but you just call them and ask them about themselves. That's all you need to do. And then you keep doing that with people. These days you can do it on LinkedIn, or you can do it with email and stuff, but you try to talk to people and then just talk to them. That's it. This guy said that if you do that, what happens is those 100 people may know 100 people. And so those 100 people, when they talk to people, maybe those people will need legal work, and so they will call you, they will refer things to you because you're someone that reached out to them to talk to them and see how they're doing. So you call these people, you ask them how they're doing, and that's it. You just ask them about themselves, and then they will at some point probably ask you about what you do. And then you'll tell them, I'm this attorney and so forth. And then all of a sudden you have 50 people or 100 people that have their ears, and when they hear about things you could be useful for, they refer people to you. And you just keep doing that. Maybe you call clients you worked on in the past and just say, hey, I'm checking in and see how things are going with you. But you never ask for business. You just call up and talk to people and ask them how they're doing. And this is one way that a way that this guy said worked. And this was like this most famous guy that was teaching people about business development. That's all you do. You just call and ask people how they're doing, talk to them, show an interest in them, and then reach out to them periodically. And I know that that sort of stuff can be very helpful. So this, by the way, is something that most people don't do. Most people are so focused on themselves and their own problems that they never reach out and see what other people are doing. When you can do that, that can be very helpful. Okay, Hurston, thank you so much for this presentation, all the time you spent trying to help others. You're welcome. Thanks for appreciating it. Do you have, I appreciate that. Most people don't say thank you, so that's nice. Do you have any tips for attorneys in the federal government who may be looking for an exit? I left private practice to come here 4 years ago, and I need to find ways to show that I'm not willing to work hard and go back to a private firm. Okay, so it's very interesting right now in this point in time. I look at people that are submitting their resumes to BCG all day, and because of what's going on with people getting laid off or worried about losing their jobs in the federal government right now, there's a tremendous number of people that are not working hard. I mean, that are looking for businesses or work from the federal government. So it's a very scary time for people. So there's, the reason, and then I guess, so the reason that a lot of people, that Elon Musk and everything, doesn't like a lot of people in the federal government is they kind of become more bureaucratic in nature, which means not necessarily, doing work. So let's just see, how would you define a bureaucrat? So it's, the bureaucrat is often someone, I mean, I'm just showing you this example from Google, someone that's more concerned with, procedures, things are inefficient, progress is slow, a lot of flexibility, red tape, those sorts of things. Because people perceive the government doesn't get things done, more interested in following systems, rules. No accountability is kind of the big one. So not having accountability. So that and inefficiency. So the big thing in terms of the difference really between bureaucrats and people that are in law firms sometimes is a lack of accountability. So I always thought it was interesting. Like I wrote this article once about like people that went to Yale Law School because I couldn't figure out like what was going on because they would always avoid firms. They would go to like public interest or government offices and things. And I'd kind of look at their experience and everything was just kind of, not, it wasn't things that seemed like there was accountability required. It was like, these roles where they're not billing hours and they're just kind of giving their opinions and doing things. And so there wasn't any accountability. And so they take these jobs where there's a lack of accountability, but prestige for that under their, for them, meaning what they believe is prestige. And then, I guess lack of accountability and then a salary, without, often a lot of work required, So, and I'm not saying that it's bad that they took these things, but in reality, it's kind of very smart because if you don't have a lot of accountability, you have prestige and you get a salary, but not a lot of work, that can be actually a very well thought out and reasoned career move, which is one of the reasons I think maybe Yale people do that so much. I mean, literally almost all their resumes, there are exceptions, but most of them read like that. And an attorney, in contrast, has accountability. So they have to, hours. Let me just show you here. Hours. Holding on to clients, and then staying employed in a competitive environment. So those are kind of the, that's kind of the differences. So law firms, obviously, if you were a law firm, you would prefer someone that was coming from a position where there's all this accountability required, right? So I mean, that's just what you would prefer. So and then and once you leave a law firm, law firms assume that you want to be in a position. Assume that you don't like that practice setting. Practice setting will leave again. So that's one reason that it can be very, very difficult for someone that leaves a law firm to go back because law firms prefer to hire people from law firms. You would do the same thing because they're coming from accountable positions. So how do you show you're unwilling to work and go back to a private firm? Well, you need to position yourself as some sort of subject matter expert if you can. So I gave the example earlier in the presentation about a woman that was working for the EPA that got a job with a boutique firm in Chicago doing that. So if you have some sort of, if you're a subject matter expert and you've been doing something 4 years ago that's related to practice of law, then you can get a position often in a law firm doing that as a subject matter expert. So you have some sort of niche that you do. If you don't, then you need to, anybody can find a job. You just need to look for, smaller and, different size firms and different markets. So, what does that mean? It means, maybe you just do, I don't know what kind of work you were doing for the government, but maybe you do, this is an example, you do, I don't know, maybe you're in Denver working remotely in Washington, DC, and you want to stay in Denver and you do, I don't know, something related to employment. I'm just giving an example. So you would go, law firms that do employment defense, it's in Denver, so you have these firms, and then all of a sudden, you can see all of these law firms that do it. So and here's BCG rankings, it's great. But so you would go in and you would basically look at all of these law firms, and probably you would just go to their website and apply to them. And you can see here, like this, I guess they do plaintiffs related work, but this is a small firm, and this is plaintiffs work, but they only have two attorneys. I guess this one was part of their legal team, emeritus practice manager, probably pretty old. But you would apply to these people, basically saying, hey, I can help you with employment work. I guarantee you that Matt Babcock and Stephanie Tucker aren't getting a lot of people applying to them looking for jobs. So there are, in every city, there are often hundreds of attorneys that you can apply to. You would read his bio, and then you would try to send him an email if you can find it. That's it. So you contact him right here, his contact, probably some email somewhere around here, and you would contact this firm asking them if you can help them. So the point is that anyone can get a job. You need to be finding places to apply to. Often they're going to be smaller, so you need to start at a small place and work your way up. But there's just absolutely tons of places that anyone can work if you're looking for a job. There's a lot of places. So let me just see here. So just remember, you have to target places that don't, to go back to a private firm, you may have to target smaller places. You need to try to have a niche that you're applying to jobs in. If you don't have a niche and it's just general like litigation or something, then you need to find firms and apply to enough places. And if you apply to enough places, I mean, like the point I was making about like this firm, this is just an example here that we're looking at, this random employment firm in Denver, and you applying to him, like, he if someone applies to him that can do the work that would look good on his website, he's going to hire them. And you would too if you were him. So you just find people that could use you to do the work, and they can be law firms. I don't know if this would be a good law firm for whatever you do, but you can find them. And then people will often, which is another dumb thing, people will often limit themselves to one market. So this is Denver, right? So, but if you are licensed in Colorado, list of cities, municipalities, these in Colorado. So you have a list of cities and municipalities in Colorado. And so if you go to this, I mean, you can see there's literally 273 places you could work in Colorado. Now I want to make another statement to you too, if you're looking for another government job. So most of these cities and stuff will have some sort of attorney working for them. So they will often put these jobs and things on their website. And so, if you go to here and look for places in like Castle Rock, you go to the town of Castle Rock, you can often look for positions there. So sometimes they will have openings on their website. This one doesn't, but they'll have openings on their website. And you can apply, you can search for firms there. So no one, by the way, no one should not be getting a job. If you are unemployed, you have every city in the entire state where you're barred that you could get a job in, and you can find firms there. And the idea that no one's going to hire you is just ludicrous. So, I mean, there's always going to be jobs in every city, in all over, there's 273 cities in Colorado. So I'm just showing you there's an incredible number of places that anybody can work. And so no one should be unemployed, regardless of what you think your current situation is. You're going to be employable. Okay, let's see the next question. I hope that helps. My firm seems to only send cases that involve folks with mental health issues. Super hard to complain or not talk negatively about these clients. It's family law, so I think it comes with the territory. What can I do so it doesn't wear me down? Yeah, so family law is a very difficult practice area to deal with clients, and most people during divorce will have some sort of mental health issues. So that's obviously true, and it's hard not to complain about those clients. That's also true as well. So family law is one practice area where people will often talk negatively about their own clients, and even the attorneys in the best firms, but they'll still be a strong advocate for those clients. So yes, family law can wear people down. It's a very difficult practice area. A lot of attorneys that do it really want to get out of it. It may not be the best practice area for you. It can be very, very difficult. So I'm not, that's one where I would say that your concerns are completely justified. The only other thing I would say about family law is, if you can find a way not to get so involved in all this drama, but there's just a lot of drama and attorneys make money off the drama because the clients, they want them to listen. I mean, it's just, so it can be a very difficult practice area. So you may want to consider another practice area if you don't like it, because it is something that even people that have their own law firms that do it and have been doing it for 30 years can find it incredibly taxing emotionally and so forth. So that kind of goes with the territory of that, and you may not like that very much. Okay, so next question is, I'm new in the field, but I was working with a recruiter who did not respond to my emails for over a month, and I said something to a recruiter who introduced us. Did I ruin this relationship? No. So you didn't. So how do recruiters work? So recruiters are salesmen, most of them. So they only work with people that they think can make money off of most of the time. So at BCG, we try to have a different approach where we can work with a lot of people at the same time, even if we don't have enough recruiters, by automating a lot of things until the person gets an interview. And we try to do intake calls. We don't always do that because there's just so many people coming in. So we do it for a certain type of candidate, others we don't. But we always collect all the information and things we need for them. But almost everyone everyone we talk to when they get interviews and so forth. But recruiter's a salesperson. So as a salesperson, they're going to try to spend their time on people that they can make money off of. So if they're sending you to firms, you're not getting interviews, and they have better people they can work with, and they have a limited bandwidth, they're going to try to work with the people that can give them the most money, where they can make the most money. So the recruiter will not respond to you if they don't have opportunities, or often they will just forget about you. Now, we don't do that at BCG because we have enough jobs and we have ways of sending jobs and things that we don't have to do that, but that kind of goes with the territory. So, if you were a recruiter, or say you were selling cars and you were trying to sell some brand of cars that nobody wants, like Kias, and then you had the opportunity to also sell Toyotas, which everybody might want. So you would prefer to work in a Toyota dealership over a Kia dealership. So that's just how recruiters are the same way. They will try to work with the people that are going to make them the most money. So recruiters not respond to your emails for over a month, that typically means they don't have anything for you, and they don't have relationships with a firm that get you a job. So what do you do in that situation? You just find a recruiter that will help you. And recruiters are, if a recruiter doesn't have positions for you, it's not something to take personally. It's just that the recruiter doesn't have them. So, our company, I don't care what your practice area is. Like if you, are looking for a job, we're going to have jobs in every single practice area. So, some recruiters won't. So most recruiters only work with people from large law firms. So, that's just kind of how the business works. But, other recruiters will work with people in all size law firms and all locations. So, your goal needs to be to find someone that will work with you and has the jobs and is a specialist in whatever you do. And so, if you look at BCG, this is just construction law, we have all these openings. So I was just showing the wrong screen. Well, it's not really that important, but I was just showing, for example, construction law is just an example in Los Angeles. We have, it looks like 17 jobs. Most recruiters probably wouldn't have any. So, what should you work with a recruiter that has a lot of jobs or a few, or what, so it's all going to depend on the recruiter. It's going to depend on how the recruiting firm operates. It's going to depend on all those things. So you should never worry if a recruiter doesn't contact you or respond. It just means that they don't feel they can market you or don't have anything for you. The second you get an interview, the recruiter's going to be talking to you all the time. And the second you get a job, the recruiter's going to be talking to you all the time. And that's what they put their bandwidth into, is people that they think they can place. And it doesn't mean that you have to not work with that you can't let me see. I'm just trying to find more questions here. Okay, the next one is for older attorneys are either re-entering the workforce or looking for a change. How can they compete with younger candidates in a hiring market that seems to favor fresh graduates and mid-level associates. Easy. You just, you apply to a lot of firms, that are getting applications. They're not getting applications. That's it. So, you find firms that aren't getting a lot of applications, which just is the same thing I said, like search for smaller firms uh, in smaller markets. Smaller firms in whatever market you're in that aren't getting applications. I made a or whatever market you're in that are not. So I had something happen that was just so stupid. And this just shows you how this bias works. So I had an opening for an in-house counsel, and I was getting shoot. Give me 1 second here. I don't know, this webinar, actually, I may have to, my screen does this thing where it stops and it restarts. So I don't know why it does this. But it looks like it's going to do it in about 30 seconds. So it's this Samsung monitor. It's like this big monitor. So the webinar, I will try to log back into it, but the screen optimization thing takes a few minutes. So I may have to log in. So if you do want to continue watching this, I will log back into the webinar when the screen, it does this crazy thing called screen optimization. I just don't even understand it. Let's see if I can even show it. Let me see here. Hey, my screen just the middle of the webinar just decided it was going to optimize. It's Christ. There's no way to stop it, is there?
There is no way to stop it. I think BJ checked on that and he said there was nothing to stop it.
All right, well, I told everyone that that the webinar was gonna end and they have to log back in. We'll see what happens. Anything else going on?
No, just checking on a few things that Alyssa was reporting on that needs to be stopped. That was going to Carlene's email.
Okay.
So I'm just checking on stopping on a few processes that came from Lynn.
All right, thanks. Carlene died today, so I don't know if she's having a funeral or not, period. She was alienated from her entire family. It's just Mike, so I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm returning to the house on March 10 or 11. Devin may want to continue helping with the kids. I'm not sure what's going on with that at the moment, but she may be able to help. She's living in Mammoth part-time and here part-time. I am working in the garage every day. Very difficult for me to break away to take the kids to school. If I need to do that, I may have to hire an au pair, which I can do. Okay, looks like I'm back. Sorry about that. My screen, it's just crazy that it does that. So thanks for waiting. Shoot. It looks like it's gonna do it again. Let me just see here because I restarted too early. I have answered most of the questions, but I will, there's several questions left. So when the screen's done optimizing, it's just absolutely insane that it does this. I will log back in. So if you can wait, it'll probably be a few minutes. I restarted it when it was doing that. That's why I'm back. But if you can wait just a few minutes, then I will be back to answer the rest of the questions here. And I apologize for this. So I'll be back just shortly. My calendar is logged with back-to-back calls. And I have to work with the staff in Utah now every day because Carlene was doing that. And I also need to be working with my candidates. And it's very, very difficult because I don't have any time to do anything. And I'm working constantly. I will try to get help with Devin if she's here. I think she wants to help and loves the kids. Period. If she's not here, which is probably going to be the case, that she's moved most of her stuff to me, then I will hire someone to help me so that I can help with all that stuff. With respect to the recruiters, I'm not sure if you can help with the Utah team because a lot of what they're doing is scheduling, fee agreements, and I do have someone there that's working on the finances, period. We only got Carlene's computer yesterday, so we're trying to work through and see where the invoices need to be billed. Okay, it's up to you, whatever you want to do with Devin, but I was offering that because she asked if she can still do it. It's a bus down the street. The situation with Devon is evolving, so I'd rather not get into it. She's getting a full-time job. And I think she already got one today, so I don't need to worry about her. For that respect. I do need to hire standard type recruiters at BCG, like you and Sarah. And I'm working on developing processes for doing that, so I can build up the company again, period. Once I've done that, I won't have any money issues, but I have been concentrating on that over the past several years, trying to develop instead my own recruiting system. Getting pretty close to making a $250,000 placement of an entire firm, moving over to another one, and I'm hoping that works out. But it's a 12-month guarantee. It looks like it is going to work out because I'm moving this group of attorneys over to a law firm in New York that's opening an office for them. But the fee is only limited at $250,000. It's payable over 12 months. They were looking at office space today, but they only pay for 60 days term. Yes, there, and I'm also saving $10,000 a month or something, or whatever Crowley was making in their salary. Wow. Well, thank you everyone for waiting. It looks like my screen, I can't believe everyone waited. I appreciate that. It's crazy, but yeah, I'm back. Thanks for waiting. Okay, so I'll get to the next question. And thanks everyone for waiting. This is crazy that my screen does this. I don't even know how this company, it's a Samsung, but it's like a widescreen. I don't know how they stay in business with their screens presented. It does this like once a week or something. Fortunately, did it today during this. Because next question: how do firms receive attorneys who have spent time working internationally, or in legal systems different from the U.S.? So it's very difficult for attorneys that work in different legal systems in the U.S. internationally to get jobs in U.S. law firms. The reason is because, think about it: if you were a law firm, would you prefer to hire someone with a lot of experience that has worked primarily in the U.S. doing U.S. legal work, or would you prefer to hire someone internationally in a legal system different from the U.S.? So I did write an article recently, and I wrote it for people in your exact position, and I will put the article. I don't even know if it's done yet. Let me just see here. Looking at articles, and just to give you a sense, by the way, of like how important it is to kind of get your name out there. These are articles that I've written, going back for several months. Let me just see here. Where's this one? But I did one on JDs and the importance of having the JD. So I don't know if this article is even 2025. I just see here. Mastering the art of legal interviews, how to break into big law. Let's see, lawyers can sell. Oh, here they're coming, February. So I'm just seeing if I have the articles here. Well, I wrote an article. I would look for it. I'll give you the title. I don't know if it's up yet. See. JDs versus, well, I'm not going to waste everyone's time looking for this article, but the article is about what you should understand is that if you're an international attorney and you've been educated overseas, what you should be doing is you need to, if you come to the US, most attorneys will get an LLM, and an LLM will qualify you to work in New York and a few other places. But the problem with, I just wish I could find this article. So it's very, if it's done. JDs versus, yeah, I don't know that it's done, but or up here. But the point is, if you're an international attorney and you want to work in the US, you need to not just get an LLM, but you need to get a JD. So the reason you want to get a JD is because JD programs are competitive to get into, so people will know the prestige level of your school, and which firms hire out of good schools, and then how you do in the JD program will also give firms a way to compare you to other attorneys that are getting JDs. An LLM is just for most schools, it's kind of a profit center. They can just charge all this money and put you in classes that they're already giving, but JD requires you to get certain types of get to compete with other people, and they can kind of slice and dice you based on how you fit in. I mean, there's 30,000 people that come out of law school each year. So, are you in the top 3,000 that went to top 5,000 went to the best schools, top 14, that sort of thing. And then, what were your grades there? So the law firms need that to kind of compete you. And you don't have to go to a top 14 school, but you need to get a JD. And I've seen some really funny things happen. Like I had this one candidate that was from China, and he came over and got a JD from University of North Dakota, and then he got a job like in some farming town, like helping people finance tractors. But he had a JD. So had he not gotten a JD, it would have been very difficult for him to get a job. So people come over and they think, oh, I should get an LLM from Harvard or something. And most of those people that come out of those top LLM programs, even at Harvard, do not get jobs in the US as attorneys, but you need to get a JD. So there's a bunch of reasons for that, but that's my biggest piece of advice if you're an LLM. There's also, there are some articles that I've already done in BCG just for you to review why an LLM is not useful. Let me see, full BCG search. There's these articles that I've written on BCG that you can find. I did a search for why an LLM is not useful, BCG attorney search. And so this is a slide share that I might have done. This article on LinkedIn, but there's a bunch of things that I've written. This is pretty crazy. Why 23,000 views that typically won't get you a better job. So I've written that about LLM programs. I've written this about attorneys being unemployable coming out of LLM programs. It looks like this is just a recent article that came out, but in most cases, an LLM is not going to help you get into US, an LLM or something. If you're an international attorney, it's not going to help you very much. Let's see here. Okay, so for attorneys who have developed a strong book of business but are looking to transition firms, how can they ensure that their clients will follow them? The best way to ensure clients will follow them is basically to have good relationships with them. Clients will follow you. Clients will often follow based on the brand of the firm. So sometimes if you are at a big branded firm, like a big US law firm, and you want to go to another firm, they want to have a good brand. So like if you're working at McGuire Woods and you want to go to a smaller firm, they may want to have a brand like McGuire Woods behind them, which is a good brand. So they'll often do that. But ensuring their clients will follow, most clients will follow. If you're the person that brought in the business and they have a relationship with you, they'll almost always follow you because you're their attorney. So, but how do you ensure that? You have a good relationship with them, and that will help you. Okay, for how many attorneys have worked in highly controversial practice areas, reposition themselves for firms that may view their past work as a liability? Yeah, that's a good question. There's a firm in Syracuse, New York, and I was working for a partner from there, and the firm literally specialized in working with pornography companies, and that was his specialty, and he wanted to move firms. And that's kind of funny, viewed as a liability. Most practice areas will be either transactional transactional or litigation related. So if you are a transactional attorney, you'll typically be like corporate or real estate, something like that. Or if you're a litigation attorney, you could be, in insurance defense, family law, family law, I don't know, commercial litigation. So the idea is that whatever your practice area, all attorneys are typically in either a transactional or litigation practice area. So in some transactional practice areas, your experience will be you can move. Any type of corporate attorney can usually get a job in another firm that does corporate. Same thing with real estate. Someone that does insurance defense. Sorry about that. Hopefully this is the last time this computer will restart. So the point I was saying is that most people are in either transactional or litigation related practice areas. So if you're in a transactional practice area, you can generally transition over into another transactional practice area most of the time, but your experience will be usually just make sure I got the right document here. Yeah, your experience will usually be able to transition to another practice area. So transactional or litigation related. Second. Oh. Okay, well, it looks like what happened is when my computer restarted just now, it deleted all the questions. So if you have any questions, if you're still here, I mean, there's a lot of people still on this call. If you put your questions into the chat, I'll just wait a minute or two. I can answer them. Otherwise, we can wrap this up. Okay. Oh, great. This is amazing. Everyone's putting their questions in. Thank you. And this will be the last time my computer restarts, I promise. So if you're still here, just I haven't got your question yet. Just Okay. What would you advice would you give to a career switcher? It's massively uphill battle to get a role that may be more junior than a role one has had outside the law, even though, as you said, careers may be long and some folks are willing to sacrifice earnings in the short term for a rewarding career in the long term. Have you seen firms value in a meaningful way work in the relevant industry that involve transactional and relevant industry that involves not just as a practicing attorney? Yeah, so that's difficult. So if you did transactional and regulatory work in a way that wasn't just as a practicing attorney, I advise people in your situation all the time. What I would recommend doing would be to take whatever you're doing and make sure that you frame it in a way that it sounds like you're doing legal work. So if you're doing transactional work, you want to regulatory work, you want to write up your experience in a way that sounds like you're doing that as an attorney. So anybody can take that experience and rewrite it in a way that it sounds like you're doing legal type work. So you just need to frame it in that way and think about like, how would this be something that an attorney would do? So you need to make all of your work sound like work that a law firm would do. Then, you need to try to apply to firms that will hire you to do that type of work. So how do you do that? You typically aren't going to be able to get into large law firms in most law firms because law firms have up or out type things. So you start there as a junior associate and then you become a mid-level associate. And then as you become a senior associate, you're expected to either be a partner, go in-house or do something else. So you have to basically apply to law firms that are smaller that do that type of work. And then you need to do probably like a national search for those type of firms. So you frame your resume in one way, and then you look for firms that do that type of work. You find smaller law firms that aren't getting a lot of applicants and that don't necessarily have that up or out thing, and that can use some of their experience. That's how I would recommend doing it, and that would work. But you may need to do more of a national search. So, you could be in doing that type of work in Florida, and there may be firms that do that, for a company in Florida, and there may be firms that do that exact type of transactional regulatory work that are small in Texas or in Colorado, and then you need to find those firms and apply to them, having a resume that looks like that. So the thing to remember too about any type of law firm you're trying to work in is all law firms, when they hire people, are hiring people for business decision related reasons. So, can we make money from this person? That's all they're asking, money from this person. Sorry. Person. And can we make money from this person? So for most law firms, you're not going to get hired as a junior associate because the junior associate is going to work really hard and try to learn, and they're going to be in a different position than someone that's more senior. People that are more senior may think they know everything, or they're not willing to work as hard. A whole bunch of different reasons. So you have to find a firm that thinks they can make money from hiring you. And that's really the goal of anybody searching for a job, is to find a firm that thinks they can make money off you. So what type of firm is that? It's probably going to be a smaller firm, not a larger firm larger firm is going to hire you as a junior associate. You're going to have to find a larger firm that's going to have the type of work that you do, that may have extra work that they can give to someone like you. That's what I would recommend. And I would do a national search, looking for firms all over the country that do whatever type of transaction or regulatory work you do. And I'm sure there are some, but you'd have to, you do a search on Google. And then the same thing I recommended earlier is you use ChatGPT, DeepSeek, and then Grok from X. And then you use those to kind of identify firms that do that type of work. Then you're going to want to identify boutique firms. So that's how I would go about your search. Okay, next question. Yeah, again, everyone's questions got deleted. So if you do that. So I'm a third-year attorney that wants to make a transition from family law to corporate transactional works. Any tips on the best way to do that? Yeah, so you need to try to do that immediately. And you're going to need to target smaller firms to do that. It's pretty simple. Like the way you would do that, you would basically present them with your resume and say, I'm most interested. I'm doing family law. I want to do corporate transactional work. That would be it. And then you would target smaller firms, preferably like very small firms, like less than 10 people that may do that, or even solo practitioners and that sort of thing. That's what I would recommend doing is making sure that you're identifying the smallest firms possible, because if they have work to do and are willing to train you, then they will. And I've seen people make this type of transition all the time, but typically you do it either by targeting smaller firms and just contacting them, or by building some sort of relationship with people that do this sort of work in the legal community, and then getting them to give you this type of work. Okay, this is the last question. So if there's no more questions after this, we're done, because I guess I deleted this, restarted. How does one cope with various forms of gaslighting in the profession? So yeah, so attorneys, specifically like people that you're up against in different matters, will say, oh, you said this one time, you said this, and you might not have said it. So it does happen. It's something that is just part of the profession, and attorneys do to each other to get an edge on different things. So that's one thing you can do. It's just kind of realize that that's part of it. Sometimes you may be working with people that are gaslighting you in your own firm. If that's happening, that's very dangerous, and those are people that are not trustworthy. So if that's happening to you at a place you work, I would be very careful about continuing to work there. But that gaslighting is something that happens with attorneys against other attorneys. It's very common. Okay, well, thank you everybody for being in this presentation, and me dropping off a few times. I apologize. I hope everyone got a lot out of this. After the presentation, I will make sure that I send around the PowerPoints of this to everybody, so you can use this information throughout your career. And I hope that it was helpful. Everything that you learned today, if you took it in, I would commend you for spending 3.5 hours on this webinar. I think you learned a tremendous amount. And I think if you even take away, 1 or 2 points that I made today, then it can be like enormously beneficial, and you can have a very successful career. The other point I just want to make to you is that regardless of where you are right now in your career, you can definitely, get to another place. Even if you're 20 years out, I've seen attorneys, in 2 or 3 years turn around their careers and have these incredible careers. You just need to do some of the things that I've talked to you about today, and just become like the absolute best attorney you can be wherever you're at, and learn from what you're doing, make the right decisions about the people you work with, make the right decisions about networking, and stay out of trouble and be seen as someone that's referable. And those are kind of the main points I had today. So I hope that this was beneficial. I will make sure that I send you all the PowerPoints, and I wish you the best. And I hope, based on the things that I covered today, that you have a remarkable career in the rest of your career. Thank you.